Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the Nintendo Select Podcast. This is episode 7 of this weekly Nintendo show. I'm your host, BoTalksGames, joined as always by the backlog bantering Tucker Hazel.
Ooh,
I think that might be your title. I was actually
Sure.
I was pondering earlier.
Yeah, why can it be a title? Ooh, should I come up with one for you?
Well,
Mr. Talks Games himself.
Sure.
Oh.
I mean, I'm the one like introducing us though, so maybe that
Sure, yeah,
isn't necessary. But you can have like a little nickname. Yeah.
The guests or the co-hosts don't really like ping pong back and like give the host a name. But you know what? Hey, we're trying something new here on the Nintendo Select Podcast. We're revamping the idea of what a podcast can be.
This is a new genre of podcast.
Yeah, this is the Stern Type Podcast. Let's go.
Some Kojima energy. But of course,
a live action podcast. Imagine that. You know, mix in some live action footage into our podcast.
It's been a busy week, Tucker. We just got done watching Summer Games Fest and Devolver Direct, and there was some leaks, so we have a lot to get into. We're also going to get into our E3 or Summer of Gaming Nintendo predictions and kind of try to lay out the year a little bit. But we also got some other stories. Of course, you can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and here on YouTube, which is where most of you listen. And rate us there, review us. We would love and appreciate that. We have a Discord now. We announced this last week. We're slowly getting more people in there, Tucker. It's nice. We're building a little community. We got some people in there talking. If you are a fan of discussing gaming news, mostly Nintendo, but I think most people in there just kind of have a general vibe for like the gaming industry and all that. That'll be linked down below.
Like
Join us
about games.
Yeah,
we've had like 2 or 3 debates already in the span of.
Yeah, we had a nice little Pikmin debate where me and you were just not having it.
Yeah, well, what we were was right.
Right, Pikmin 1 is kind of mid.
Yes,
that is a fact. It was funny. So it was Benpai on the server.
Yes.
And I listen. I respect all Pikmin games equally, except for Hey Pikmin.
Oh, absolutely.
It was funny.
I like Hey Pikmin.
Sure. It was funny because he specifically said something like it's great that we can all debate these 8 or 9 out of 10 games, and you know they're all good. Because I beat Pikmin 1 this year, and in my little list I put a score next to it. I think that game's like a 7. But
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Pikmin 4 is in about a month and a half as of recording, and I just upload because this goes up so soon. We will probably have a Pikmin focused episode leading up to.
We're gonna be talking about it later today.
Week that Pikmin 4 comes out on. Oh wait, wasn't Niantic supposed to announce something about Pikmin Bloom today?
Was that just Abram gaffing us?
No, I was on the Niantic Twitter page. Nothing Niantic.
We'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, we have a loaded show today. So I think we'll probably try to get through these like quicker headlines a little bit more, and then we'll get to what we're playing. A big week for maybe not Nintendo games necessarily, although there was one we were playing. Both of us checked out. You actually finished it. And then we'll get to the big news because Tucker, what I've learned, and honestly, this is an evolving podcast. We might end up changing some things around, how we structure the format and how we do news and all that, but also when we upload, because we are recording right now at 3:52. This is the Nintendo Select promise right here. I swear to God, if Nintendo announces something at 6 p.m. for the 3rd week in a row, that will push me over the edge to record this podcast on Fridays. Yeah. Because the past 2 weeks, there has been, to be fair, the first week was, I think it was maybe Switch Online games or something, and then Daemon X Machina, which isn't Nintendo published. But then last week, of course, we saw the announcement of Everybody Want to Switch, so that was a huge thing to miss, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Okay, so I'm on Niantic's Twitter page. They said, we are excited to bring the adventure to Summer Game Fest this year. See you on June 8th, which is today. But then it says on the graphic that they have, play days starting June 9th. Stay tuned for interviews and announcements from Peridot and Monster Hunter Now, Pikmin Bloom, and more. So I wasn't incorrect that it kind of implies that we're supposed to get some Pikmin Bloom news today, but also, okay, it just hasn't happened. It could happen at any point over the next couple days. Doesn't fucking matter.
To be honest, I don't think it would have been big enough to even cover on the podcast. It's probably like there's a
Pikmin Bloom.
Sure, but when was the last time you heard about Fire Emblem Heroes? That game's getting updated all the time, but we're not talking about it.
Well, the thing is that Pikmin Bloom is weird enough and also personally important enough as it was one of the biggest reasons my channel backlog banter got as big as it was, is because we got like 300 plus subscribers from one video with Pikmin Bloom. So I think it's funny to talk about Pikmin Bloom, even though I don't like the game. But there's not information right now, so we're not going to talk about Pikmin Bloom, except we just did.
I enjoyed that game. I'm gonna be honest. As a huge Pokemon fan, I think I probably played Pikmin Blue more than Pokemon Go.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I was in. It was only for like
very few people that.
It was only like 2 weeks, but I was just in. To be fair, when Pokemon Go came out, I lived in the middle of nowhere, so it kind of hurt it, the initial like zeitgeist type. Yeah. But Sucker, you are in a weird location. What's going on here? Explain yourself.
My house. I'm in Texas. I'm where I'm from. The house that I share with Tanner is in Nebraska. That's where we went to college. Not anymore because we graduated, but I still have my lease there. I have a job this weekend here in Austin, so I flew down yesterday, and now here I am. This is my actual room. I mean, this environment with like I don't know. I got
this is your bedroom.
PlayStation 1 right there. Yeah, it is.
What is this? What is this staircase?
There's a crazy staircase.
This is such a weird room.
Steps. You can see like Switch cases back there.
Okay.
I got a creeper. I got my Wii U games, some Wii games.
What are those gamer posters up there? Is that BioShock?
Last of Us and Jack and Daxter.
Dude,
and I got a giant.
You get those at ThinkGeek. You get those at ThinkGeek or GameStop or something.
I can't remember the website, but yeah, it's one of those kind of things.
That's funny.
Yeah, this is my environment. I mean, this is where I've got all my retro games as well. I've got my.
Oh, cool! That's a nice little setup.
There's asteroids on the wall. I got my old TV. What's that down there? NES, N64, Super Nintendo, PS2. So, yeah, okay. I got some games.
I respect it.
Yeah. People finally gonna respect me as a gamer because I have some old games.
Yeah, you're a collector now, so I respect you now. All right, let's go ahead and get into the quick news. Yeah. Like I said, probably won't have to say much about any of these. Well, some of them actually are kind of big, and it even could have passed as major news. But there's so much big news, I want to kind of separate it. First up, real quick, I don't know if we need to cover these, but I decided maybe, now we can kind of have that dialogue. NBA 2K23 is North America's next Switch Online game. You'll be able to play it from, I believe, June 8th through the June 13th. This is the little free trial thing they do.
The game is on Switch?
Yes, all the 2K games are on Switch. Yeah.
I thought they stopped at a certain point.
No, 2K actually stayed with it.
Are they like the legacy versions or whatever, that FIFA? I don't know enough about Nintendo's versions of these games. That's bizarre.
Yeah, well, EA is terrible at it, I think.
Sure.
I'm not sure if these are like actually good versions, but it's a free trial now for Switch Online users. We'll maybe mention these whenever they do them. They do them pretty often, just like a free trial for a game. Interestingly, it's also on PS Plus this month. So I guess they realize that sales are dead now for that game probably, and they're like, well, let's just get it out real quick here, get a cheap deal.
Give it to people for free.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look up NBA 2K23 on Metacritic. I just want to see if because they have a breakdown of like what for different consoles. Mm-hmm. The PS5 version has a 78 average for critics.
Sure.
Switch. NBA 2K23 for Switch. No Metascore. Only 2 critics have reviewed it. So there's not a Metascore.
What they give it? Can you see?
Nintendo Life gave it a 70 and Nintendo's gave it a 65. But their review says NBA 2K23 is once again the best basketball game available on the Switch. So hey,
what other basketball games are there?
NBA Playgrounds. I think there's probably a game just called basketball because there's so many of those. Like
there's definitely just a basketball.
There's like a golf. There's a baseball, and it's like some generic ass
billiards.
Exactly. Yeah. I bet there's one just called basketball. Bizarre.
Well, if you want to try out NBA 2K23,
that game.
If you want to try NBA 2K23 on Switch, it's a free trial right now.
For a high fidelity, high production value, really realistic basketball game.
NBA 2K famously in that Switch reveal trailer, so
that's a great point. I do remember that.
Nintendo thought it was a big deal.
They did.
Speaking of big deals, perhaps Capcom has announced a showcase for June 12th.
God, please.
This was weird. It kind of like leaked on their Facebook page first, and then people were like, "Oh, it's fake," and then it was announced like a couple hours later. It's gonna have a 36.
Why would their Facebook page have a fake announcement?
They posted it and deleted it really quick, and it was like the Capcom Brazil. So people were like, "What?" People weren't sure if it was even a real page.
But isn't that how things are usually leaked?
It's usually like some weird like
other country account.
Yeah, that's we're gonna talk about a huge leak that just happened in a bit.
Yeah.
On an Instagram account. So, but yeah.
Also, in terms of games, like it's always like Walmart Bhutan has
sure. Well, Walmart Canada was infamous that one year where they leaked like Rage 2 and a bunch of other stuff.
Crazy.
Capcom Showcase, 36-minute runtime. They've already confirmed that we will be seeing, I believe, more stuff on Resident Evil 4 DLC, Dragon's Dogma 2, most notably, obviously not a Switch game. Pertaining to the Switch audience, though, Ghost Trick is going to be there, which is kind of weird because it's coming out in like 3 weeks, but that'll be there.
Jeez.
And hopefully some new reveals. There was also, of course, we mentioned last week, there was that Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak digital event, the final one, where they detailed the final announcements. I don't know what they announced there, Tucker. I don't care.
I'm gonna guess some
a new monster
to fight.
I think they did shadow drop a new monster. Sure.
An area. A quest.
I'm not expecting any other Nintendo games to be, or like any. I'm not even really expecting Capcom games to be announced here, to be honest. We're gonna get into Nintendo predictions, but if we want to predict third-party stuff real quick here, I still think like a Monster Hunter World 2 could be at TGS. I think I mentioned that last week, but people are saying like, new Mega Man. Too soon.
With all of these Capcom franchises that are currently at their peak of not only quality but popularity, they have. I don't know if actually. Has Capcom had showcases? I know they've had like Resident Evil showcase.
No, they've been doing this. This is like the 4th time they've done this.
Okay.
For E3 season.
Yeah, but they don't usually announce things there. They always have announcements at other places. I mean, most notably,
these usually happen after these Capcom showcases normally happen after the PlayStation showcase. Like last year, there was a state of play that revealed Resident Evil 4, and then like a week later, we saw Resident Evil 4 gameplay. Right. So I'm not expecting too much from this. Maybe we'll get, like, people are saying Ace Attorney. I don't think so. No. That would have been at PlayStation. So probably won't be the biggest showcase. We're also getting another showcase on, I don't have the date here, I don't believe, because it was actually just announced. It was teased from Grasshopper Manufacture that there was going to be some sort of event. 14th, yeah. So we watched the Devolver event. They teased. I guess we're just going to talk about this right now, all in one.
Sure.
In that little teaser, it was before the Devolver Digital event started. They announced Shadows of the Dam Remastered, which was not confirmed to be coming to any specific platforms. I wouldn't be surprised if that comes to Switch, but there will be a Grasshopper Manufacture showcase on. I think it's June 15th here. So this is Suda51. If you don't know, of course, the creator of No More Heroes and a bunch of other very eclectic games that people really seem to love. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's something for Switch in that. Especially, it's especially interesting because they tease Shadows of the Damned, which to me says they have more than one thing to announce, which I wouldn't really expect from Grasshopper Manufacture. So.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I mean, we're seeing smaller and smaller groups start to have their own showcases, and I think that's kind of fun and interesting in a way. It's unfortunately something that I think makes it a little harder for me to want to tune in, because if there are so many, I want to just catch the big ones and then fill in afterward. But
even that Devolver Showcase that we just watched, and I guess we can kind of talk about it real quick right now.
Yeah,
I've been a fan of these for the past couple of years. Obviously they're hit or miss, and I get what they're going for. This is the first year I just didn't really care. Was like you said, there was like, what was it, Bleak Sword DX shadow dropped on Switch from that. Human Fall Flat 2 was announced.
That might have been in the pre-roll thing.
Sure.
I wasn't paying attention to that. I didn't see the trailer. I was actually watching it mostly because I think the Volvi thing is the best bit.
It's funny. It's definitely funny. Yeah.
They really went all in on this. And of course they've gone all in the past, and they have props on stage and people getting killed, and there's this whole storyline, and they had Mecha Suda 51 last year, and it's a whole thing. But the Volvi thing was funny enough. Unfortunately, you and Abram were talking, so I couldn't catch most of it. So I might watch it again.
We had a very nice debate about Nintendo. Well, not even a debate. We just had a conversation about E3 stuff.
But it was over the Devolver Direct. But I do think that for what Devolver does, this was one of my favorites because I think they sold their bit the best with Volvi. And I with Human Fall Flat, which is a game I enjoy, and sure, another one that's pretty cool. Human Fall Flat is a huge.
That's a big game. That is a big game. Yeah.
It's one of the best-selling games of all time, or something ridiculous like that.
It sold 30 million copies for no reason.
Yeah, but that's more than almost
exactly.
Every game.
Yeah, exactly. It's very weird. So that was a big announcement for sure.
Yeah, but also the new Bennett Foddy game, Baby Steps. I find Bennett Foddy to be an incredibly interesting.
I love getting over it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've also played QWOP and GURP, and I found some of its other games on itch.io or something like that. He made a bunch that were only playable on browsers at a certain point. He's a weird fucking guy, but it's a big thing that he's working with the team behind Ape Escape, and also with Devolver publishing it, and it's coming only to PlayStation and PC. So we're not talking about it because it's on Switch, but because it was, I think, maybe the most interesting thing.
Yeah, I agree. Just because, I mean, getting over it was like 8 years ago. I want to say, so that was a long time ago.
8 years ago? Was it really? Holy shit!
Something like, it's been a while. Maybe it was closer to 2017. So that would have been 6 years ago. But yeah, I don't know. It was a fine showcase. And to be fair, I do think that most games in that weren't announced for Switch would probably end up coming to Switch anyway eventually. That's how it kind of just goes. There's another game that was shown at Summer Games Fest that I highly doubt will not come to Switch, but it wasn't announced for Switch, which we'll get to. But the Devolver Direct, it was fine.
Yeah,
very funny. I do love the Volvy bit. They actually got me because someone tweeted out.
Real.
Someone like retweeted like merch of Volvy on eBay selling for like $1,200, and I was like, oh, like, maybe it was obviously they are selling Volvy merch, on their website, but yeah. We did get confirmation. I don't know if you played this game, Tucker. TMNT Shredder's Revenge is seeing a big ol' DLC release later this year. Dimension Shellshock, adding new characters, more levels. Pretty big deal. This game was a big Game Pass get last year. I think it did really well. Have you played it? Are you a big fan of TMNT?
I played it alongside Abram and our friend Abby from our Discord server. I don't have any personal connection to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I wasn't like super excited for it, but Abram really was. This is one of his most anticipated games of last year. So it being on Game Pass and being multiplayer through that, I played through it in one sitting because it's only like a 2.5 hour game. But I just don't really think I like beat 'em ups that much. To be honest,
I love you, Tucker.
Yeah.
I hate beat 'em ups. I can't. I always try.
Streets of Rage 4 is the only one I would.
They can't. I like River City Girls, but it's very rare that a beat 'em up actually gets me. I do think this game. I'm not like I didn't grow up with TMNT or anything, but it does look good. I would like to try it at some point. I got the Cowabunga collection, that came out last year.
Why?
It was cheap.
Okay, interesting. But it's like you don't like the turtles.
I don't dislike the turtles. I just didn't grow up with them. I think they're cool. I'm excited for the new movie. I think that looks great. But
absolutely, that's the one I'm like hoping to get really into the turtles on. But yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. It's just it doesn't stick in my mind because the gameplay of a beat 'em up game just doesn't really appeal to me. Like I played Streets of Rage 1 and 2, and those are some of them. Like people love Streets of Rage 2. People fucking adore that game. I'm like, really? Like it's not really any different from the other ones. I played Final Fight earlier this year, which is basically just Streets of Rage.
They're such arcade design games, and then I also associate them with like NES and just like SNES, and I think we moved on. But they have their audience. Agree. People like them, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw this, Tucker, but I thought this was, quite frankly, outrageous.
Oh.
So, Aspyr, of course, owned by Embracer Group, the
obviously.
Yeah, of course, they own everything. They've been doing all these ports of Star Wars games. And last year, they ported, or maybe the year before, I think it was 2021. They ported Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 to Switch. Of course, the BioWare developed RPG. This was a big deal because it wasn't available on any other platforms except for PC, and it still isn't available on PS4, which is weird that they put it on Switch and not that.
That's bizarre.
But before they released the game, they promised that they would be releasing the original DLC for Knights of the Old Republic 2 on Switch later on as a free update. They ignored people's questions about this for a solid year and a half.
Yeah.
Until a couple days ago, they just randomly released a press release, or like the Twitter image, the classic Twitter image.
Text block of doom.
Yes, text block of doom, saying that they've canceled work on this DLC. And to be fair, they're offering you a key to another Switch Star Wars game. If you to compensate basically for the lack, because they promised this DLC.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think the infrastructure is in place at all for them to give refunds for Switch. I don't think that would really work. But this is pretty shady, especially because I imagine if you bought Knights of the Old Republic 2, you probably have all the other Star Wars games on Switch already. I would imagine they have there's a bundle on the Switch eShop where it's like all of them for $50. So here's the list of games that you can get. You can get Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, Jedi Knight, Jedi Outcast 2. Episode 1 Racer, Republic Commando, Force Unleashed, and then of course the original Knights of the Old Republic. And they're also offering a code for Knights of the Old Republic 2 on Steam, which is funny. As compensation, you can pick one.
If you have it on Switch, why would you put the code on Steam?
Exactly.
That's
actually, I don't. Maybe the DLC is on Steam. I'm not actually positive. it's just unfortunate because this was the first. This is the first re-release of this game, and now it can't be the definitive edition. I was reading the comments on their Twitter thread, and people were complaining that like apparently the base game wasn't ever that good to begin with, and they really got good with the DLC. I mean,
have you heard anything about KOTOR 2 ever?
Sure.
And no one talks about that. I only hear about Knights of the Old Republic. People love Knights of the Old Republic. I didn't even know there was a sequel until it was announced for Switch.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just low class. And maybe it's not that big of a deal because like it's a port of a game from 2006 or whatever. Yeah. But Aspire, get your act together. Not a good look for Aspire. Not obviously with the KOTOR remake for PS5 and turmoil. Anyway. Yeah. It's also just weird. You ported the game to Switch to begin with. You can't get the DLC going, really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We're not game developers. We don't know like how difficult that kind of stuff is. But like, it's the same engine, and it's the same like area of source code that you're porting from, I guess, PC. So if you're doing one, maybe they just didn't have time before they put it out, and they're like, okay, let's just like focus on making KOTOR 2 as good as they can. But also, wasn't it bad on Switch? Wasn't there like errors, but like it like would break your system or something?
With KOTOR?
No, not break your system, but like your save would get glitched or something.
There was, I think, it was like buggy, I believe. I think they fixed that.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Whatever. This is just strange.
It's just weird.
Oh well.
Yeah, oh well. I wasn't going to play it, but
no.
There were a lot of people very upset about this I saw on Twitter, so I wanted to address it, because I do think it is... It's just fucking weird, to be honest. Now, last week, Tucker, I'm moving some stuff around. I don't know if you're looking at the document I have out, but I'm moving some stuff around.
I don't have it pulled up.
You should do that. It's very messy this week, because I was preparing it while we were watching Summer Games Fest. Last week, you and I had a little debate about how frequently Nintendo Switch Online gets updated.
Yes. And you won.
And I completely obliterated you.
Yeah, facts and logic. Yeah.
So you were trying. There's this whole thing about like, oh, they only release it like once a month, and I was saying they release it like every 2 weeks. To be fair, I don't know if I have one per se. I think it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Where there are gaps. There are times where it goes like 5 weeks, but then they do it every week for a month. It's really weird, the release cadence. But we did get a very nice update for Nintendo Switch Online. It was weird. I did some research. They've never, not never. This year, at least, they have not announced and released any of these games on a Monday before, and they did it on a Monday for some reason. A little weird. We did a lot of data research this week, Tucker. You did all your...
It's because there was a different announcement on Thursday night, as we'll get to.
Sure. Well, and it's Thursday right now. We'll see if at 6 p.m. while recording, if something else gets announced tonight. But we got a nice, hefty update for Switch Online, adding some Game Boy games, as well as SNES and NES. So, starting off, we had... Most notably, I would say, Kirby Tilt Ensemble has released. This was announced in February Direct to be coming. This is really cool because this is the first time the game has ever been re-released, and it incorporates gyro. They added gyro controls to this game, which is a godsend. I have the cartridge. I tried playing it earlier this year. The Game Boy, you can already not see the Game Boy screen. Yeah. Now just imagine moving it around and flipping it. Yeah. Not great. So to see this come to Switch, we'll talk about it. You beat it. I played a little bit of it. Just nice. Even if you don't think the game is good, it's just nice for like preservation.
Yeah,
for
this
sure.
is probably the best version of the game there
ever will be.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there.
But I imagine people probably played it with a Game Boy player on their GameCube, flipping up their GameCube.
They did.
That's how they stream it. Yeah,
which is hilarious. That's one of the funniest like niche gaming facts I know is there are people that play tilting.
Play some WarioWare Twisted
motion control games holding a fucking GameCube. That's ridiculous. That's crazy.
I just said it. But I do think that means we'll probably get WarioWare Twisted. I'd imagine they already got like the tech in there. Although I don't know. I didn't play that. Maybe there's something else.
Yeah,
Topsy-turvy, baby. Yeah. But that was not all that got added. In fact, I would even say that for me probably isn't the best game to come to this, because I think this was. Looking at the year, this is definitely, outside of when Game Boy and GBA games came all together at once with like 30 games, this is probably the best update this year. We also got Blaster Master Enemy Below from Game Boy Color. I have not heard too much about that game, but I love Blaster Master, the kind of reboot that they did for NT Creates, or NT Creates made. There's a whole trilogy, yeah. So 0-1 was like a remake, I believe, and then 0-2 and 3 are kind of like their own thing. But Blaster Master,
that was like a very
they're good games. They're good games.
Yeah.
I love NT Creates. So that's on Switch Online now for Game Boy Color. And then we actually got an NES and SNES game. First up, we got Harvest Moon for SNES. I think this is a huge get as well.
It really is, yeah.
Because we were talking about this last week. Harvest Moon, it's on N64 in Japan on the Switch Online, not here. I do think this means we'll probably get it here, and that's great because, well, not only is Harvest Moon SNES, I mean, this was released on Wii U Virtual Console, so it's not as big of a deal, but they're both very expensive games. Harvest Moon N64 is extremely expensive. So to have that hopefully be coming on the more platforms is nice, and Harvest Moon is a great game, pretty timeless game. And then, oddly, Tucker, we were DMing on Twitter about this. This one's weird. So we have a game from a Namco called Mystery Tower, and this is actually the first time this game has ever been released. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. First time it's ever been released in America. It was a Japan game with a different title. What's weird is I was Googling it. I was like, what is this game? Because they didn't mention it in like the video they released, Nintendo. I was Googling it. I Googled Mystery Tower Namco. They actually trademarked this last April. So like they had to like trademark this and get it ready. They renamed it for America, which is just weird.
It's a lot of work for something that.
Right, I'd imagine they had to translate it because I assume it wasn't translated. We've seen like Earthbound Beginnings, which was already translated release, but this means Namco or Bandai Namco most likely went back and actually translated this entire game.
No, that's bizarre. Yeah.
Very cool. This is a cool update. I like updates like this where it's like you get your Kirby, you get your Blast Match, which is niche, you get your Harvest Moon, which is huge, and then you get your random game you've never heard of. This is cool. This is one of the better updates,
which I don't think you mentioned. But
sure,
this is an update to NES Online.
There's only been one of this year.
So it was Xevious, I think, right?
Yeah, it was Xevious, and then Side Pocket for SNES. So second time for both of them this year.
Yeah,
and they're good games.
What I like so much about this update is it proves the breadth of Nintendo Switch Online. Is we're getting Kirby Tilt and Tumble, which we already knew about because it was shown in like, hey, these are coming soon little section. But we're also getting another Game Boy game, which was not in that section, which is cool. It's something totally random. It's not from Nintendo. And Harvest Moon dropping totally randomly, a game being translated by Namco for NES, which already doesn't get very many games because mostly everything's already on there. It just I love Nintendo Switch Online, and I think that this update is a perfect encapsulation of why I love that. Is we have Kirby Tilt and Tumble now on modern hardware, better controlling and better looking than it ever has been. An expensive ass game is now super accessible to so many people. A random game that nobody had played before in the West is now available easily. So cool. Just all of it's so cool.
Yeah. I hope we get more updates like this soon for Switch Online. I'm still waiting on the Oracle games, but even I think back to, in fact, we actually have a question. I'm just going to rope in right now.
Sure.
Because we're going to get to our Nintendo Direct or like Nintendo Summer Games predictions. So we probably won't have a whole section dedicated to listener questions because most of the listener write-ins were about their predictions. So it'll just all be one big section at the end there. But Virtual Console related, King Dilly wrote in, what is the first Virtual Console game you remember buying? And the last one you bought? I bought Balloon Fight on my Wii and the Mysterious Murasame Castle on my 3DS. I wanted to write this in here, include it, because Mysterious Murasame was a similar situation where it was a Nintendo published game that never got released. Yeah. And that was actually, I'm not going to say it was the first Virtual Console game I bought, but that was like one of the earlier ones I bought on 3DS. I'm trying to think. I don't think I bought any Virtual Console games on Wii. I was honestly too young, or I didn't even have really good internet, so I just wasn't worried about it. I also playing my Mario Bros on my Game Boy Classic NES series. But I remember in 2013, Nintendo did this thing with the Wii U where to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Famicom, they were releasing a new NES or SNES game every month on the Wii U eShop for 30 cents, which was really cool. I don't remember the first one exactly. It was definitely one of these. Maybe it was Mario Bros. Maybe it was Super Metroid. I know it was one of them. But definitely one of those. And then for last Virtual Console game, I can't remember.
I think it was Balloon Fight.
For you?
No, that game, the 30-cent game. Because
was that?
I was just doing
that was definitely one of them.
A bunch of research about older Nintendo Directs and how long between a game being announced in Nintendo Direct and coming out it is, what's the average of that kind of stuff. And I went back and watched a bunch of old Nintendo Directs that I never watched because I wasn't watching Nintendo Directs until early 2015. I think my first explicit memory of watching a Nintendo Direct was the April Fool's Direct when they revealed Lucas for Smash.
Yeah. I can't believe they did that. Why not just wait a day?
Yeah, it's really funny. But there's a whole era of Nintendo Directs, the whole starting era that I never saw. I never watched any of these, and they have such a different tone from current Nintendo Directs. It's crazy how different they are. But I think I remember. I'm just saying. I think I remember it being 30. They're like, oh, 30 cents game. Balloon fight. That's sitting somewhere in the back of my mind.
That was definitely one of them. But yeah, that was a great promotion. Do you remember what the first Virtual Console game for you was?
I do, because I only got it like 2 years ago, maybe.
Sure.
And it was on the Wii U, and it was Sin and Punishment.
Oh, that's a good game.
To do a review with Abram and John Cartwright from Good Vibes Gaming. He reviewed that game with us.
That's another game that was never released in English, I believe, right?
Yeah.
For N64,
and now it's on
Switch Online as well.
Yeah, and then I also got Star Fox 64 to review that with Abram as well. And those were both the easiest to access on. Oh, and Kurorin. All three of those I got on Wii U, and those are the only ones I've ever bought. Never bought any on Wii. Never bought any on 3DS.
I poured a lot of money into Virtual Console on Wii U, like more than I'm proud to admit. I don't know why. I was just like, it was a good time for me. Just like, I was 12 when the Wii U came out, so around like 2015, I would have been 14, 15. It was a good way to that's how I played Super Metroid for the first time, and Metroid Fusion and Golden Sun, and just kind of refamiliarize myself with some of like the older games.
Yeah.
So that's when I did a lot of my backlog.
Virtual Console as well. I forgot about that.
Wii U Virtual Console, really good.
Really good, yeah. Especially because they've other weird systems on there.
TurboGrafx. TurboGrafx got added in late 2016.
Who the fuck cares about TurboGrafx?
Why did Konami wait? They waited until after the Switch was announced to put them on Wii U.
Nintendo Switch Online TurboGrafx.
I think that's possible. Sure.
Is it? I mean, it's possible.
It's definitely weirder because it's a subscription, so they'd have to pay them a flat fee. But yeah, I think it's possible.
That's more money than Konami's getting for all these games, or not Konami? Who is it?
Namco.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Konami. That's Konami for TurboGrafx. Oh, Genesis. You're thinking about Sega?
No. TurboGrafx.
That's Konami.
It's more money if Nintendo paid them a flat fee. That's more money than they're making on all those games right now.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Tucker, we had something kind of crazy breaking news right before we were about to start recording. We were going to talk about this because it's been so heavily talked about in the rumor scene this week, leading up to the Xbox Showcase. Persona 3 Remake, as we now know, Persona 3 Reload, as well as a Persona 5 Tactics game. This was all rumored because of some domain names. Of course, Persona 3 Remake we had seen leaked footage of back in like March, so it was pretty clear that was coming. And then Persona 5 Tactics was, I think, a bit of a surprise for a lot of people, but these games have not been officially revealed yet. However, ads have leaked for them on the official Atlas West Instagram account. Already been taken down. Full trailers for both games.
Yes,
with Xbox brand, with Xbox. I didn't actually watch them, but the Xbox branding all over them. We can talk about whether or not these will come to Switch in a minute, but I just want to say, I think we were talking with Abram because we were talking to him during Summer Games Fest. He was saying that maybe Xbox actually locked these down as exclusives.
Yeah, I
don't think so. At the very least, they'll come to PlayStation. I would hope, because if you remember last year, Xbox had the announcement for Persona 3 Portable and Persona 3. Or maybe it wasn't portable actually. It was it portable?
It was a collection of Persona 3, 4, and 5.
But right. Well, it wasn't a collection.
Versions.
I was trying to think of what version of 3 it was.
A grouped announcement.
Yeah, I think it was Persona 3 Portable, and people were upset because it wasn't the FES version on PS2. One of those.
That's right.
But yeah, they announced all those games coming to all these platforms, and people didn't know for a while if they were going to come to PlayStation or Switch. And I think PlayStation was announced a couple days after the Xbox Showcase, and then Switch wasn't announced until the Partner Showcase at the end of June. So like it was a 2-week gap. So I'm not ready to say for sure that these games will come to Switch, but at the very least, I'd be surprised if the Tactics game doesn't come, because it is very chibi. So yeah, it's Persona 3 Reload coming early 2024, and then Persona 5 Tactica, another Persona 5 spinoff, more chibi Persona Q style tactics game, coming November 17th to Game Pass. Both of these games are going to be on Game Pass. Where do you stand? Do you think these games are going to come to Switch, or do you think Xbox actually did maybe lock down? We've also seen just Atlas is weird. They are a weird company for some reason. Even before all this person, like years ago, Joker got in Smash. It took 4 years. We got Persona 5 Strikers on Switch before Persona 5 Royal. Do you think these games are coming to Switch, Tucker?
Yeah, I think that the Persona games being everywhere is the mantra of this generation. Because you think back to last generation, Persona 5 was only on PlayStation for the longest time, and also the Persona Q games were 3DS games. And so Persona games, just looking backwards, have almost always been PlayStation games, but they've broken free of that mold in this generation. Ports of all 3 of the major games are now on all the platforms, and also Strikers is on everything, and now Tactica, well, actually, we don't know that yet. But I do think that track record leads me to believe that they don't have exclusivity deals, because they did for the longest time, and it meant that their fan base was significantly limited.
We don't know that, though. We don't know if Persona ever had any type of exclusivity deal. That was never set. That's why Atlas is so weird.
That's
because, like, for example, Catherine, another game from P Studio, that came to Switch and PS4, and it wasn't like a big deal or anything. But then, Persona was in this weird nebulous state where, like, we didn't know if Sony paid to keep Persona exclusive, or if Atlas was just like, this is sort of similar with Yakuza on PS4. Yeah. That was only ever on PlayStation, and then recently Xbox got it. That makes more sense because those are more AAA style games, I want to say, and it probably wouldn't run on Switch as well, or at that point Wii U. In fact, actually, Wii U did get Yakuza 1 and 2 HD. I have
really?
Only in Japan. Only in Japan. I have it.
Okay, that's why I didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, to be fair, I think worrying that these Persona 3 Reload and Persona 5 Tactica won't come to Switch, I think that's more like a false fear. There's realistically no reason to think they won't. So if they don't come to Switch, what are you doing, Atlas? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't do this.
I think what's also interesting about that is that it could still just be that they're on Game Pass, because the Game Pass thing is, I think, the only indicator of maybe there is some kind of deal. However, Game Pass being on the games being on Game Pass is the incentive for someone to play on Xbox. Mm-hmm. And same with all the games that were put on there last year. But it also could be that, okay, so there is a deal, they're on Game Pass for a little while, but then they come to Switch and PlayStation later down the line. I think that if we are talking about this for whatever reason in 18 months and they're still not on anything else, that's the part where we really have to be worried that they're not coming. But if it's still like, 3 or 4 months from now and they haven't been, it's like, okay, there still can be, they can show up in a direct, and then that'll be a pop of, okay, we're getting these on Switch. I still think that it's very possible that they're just announcing, even if it's very different points in time, but different points in time.
Yeah, and we'll talk about potentially these showing up in a direct later. I think they'll probably come. Yeah. Even if it is like some weird 6 months exclusivity, which I kind of doubt. I would be curious to see. It's so hard to determine Xbox player counts and sales numbers because of Game Pass. I'd be curious to see the split for Persona 5 Royal, for example, between Switch, the new PS5 version that came out, and Series X. I'd imagine, I guess in that case, PS5 version would probably be the least because it was already on PS4. But a lot of Persona coming. There's rumors Persona 6 is coming out next year as well. I didn't expect Persona 5 to keep getting more things. I thought we were done.
It's the Final Fantasy 7. It really is. I mean, it's not Final Fantasy 7 to the degree that Final Fantasy 7 is, but they're treating it like that. Everything is based on Persona 5 now.
Well, yeah, they've always kind of done this with like the Persona 4. They did the arena game, the fighting game, and then they retroactively did the dancing games after the Persona 5 dancing game that was a success. So this is just the result of Persona 5 being the game that got Persona popular in the West, I guess. Yep. I do wonder if Persona 5 Tactica does well. Does that mean we go back and get a Persona 3 Tactica? I think that's possible. Well, especially now that Persona 3 Remake is relevant.
The element that you didn't mention, though, and also I think that there being a Persona 3 remake probably signals that there will be a Persona 4 remake coming down, which I think will even be more popular.
Absolutely,
But is that the Persona 5 Tactica is developed by the core Persona team.
Yes, which very strange.
Because if they're also developing 6, and that's coming next year.
And they have a new IP in development as well. They have a new IP in development.
Did they really?
It was announced a long time ago.
That's going to be fucking big.
Yeah, dude.
Jeez.
P Studio is like a sleeper pick. Like, if I were to like draft a fantasy league of developers, I think P Studio would probably be on that list because they are a sleeper. Yeah, especially because like they didn't do Persona Q. That was I believe Spike Chunsoft did those. They do the Mystery Dungeon games. Those were just Mystery Dungeon games. So, and Strikers, of course, was done by Koei Tecmo. So
yeah,
big announcements coming. We'll probably talk about these maybe in a little bit more detail next week because that will be after the Xbox show and they will have their formal unveiling.
Yeah. Though we have basically all the information about them because there's
sure.
fucking
Well,
trailers.
we'll have the answer to our question by next week because I think if these are coming to PlayStation, we'll know by this time next week.
Sure, probably.
And if they're coming to PlayStation, they dear God better become the Switch.
yeah.
If Persona 5 is on Switch, so that's it for the quicker news stories. Like I said, we have a lot of big stuff to get into after we talk about what we're playing, Tucker. But we've been playing a lot this week.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start? Should we start with the game we're playing
Absolutely.
together?
Absolutely.
You want to start there? Street Fighter 6, Tucker.
Yeah.
We have been talking on this podcast because there was a lot of stuff with Mortal Kombat 1. We've been talking a mean game about becoming fighting game aficionados.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I think, to be honest, full disclosure, I think I'm already kind of falling off of it. I think Diablo 4, which we'll talk about, has really taken my attention. But I want to get back to it. I probably put a good 15 hours into Street Fighter 6 in the past week.
Really? Whoa, that's a lot.
I have never played a fighting game like this and really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it comes down to just the modern controls. It's simpler to get into. It's really fun. I've been playing ranked mostly. I think I'm like Iron 3 or something. So not high, I'm not great at the game. I started at, the base level. But learning, I've mostly been playing Cammy, of course. Respect. This game's really good. Really, it's just I don't really know what to say about it. It's just a fighting game, but it's just like it's what I want from a fighting game. It's easy to get into. I love shout out. I haven't seen too many people talking about this. I already turned it off because I feel like I've gotten the hang of it now. But the announcer voices you can put on, really cool feature to help new players learn.
Yeah,
I really enjoy that. Just because he'll be like, oh, anti-air, do an anti-air. It's like, okay, I get it. If they back you in the corner, he'll give you some like advice basically, in like a low key roundabout way. It's just been a lot of fun. I will say, I don't know if you played too much of this. I think the World Tour mode is horrible.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I really don't like it. I was trying to get through it because I play games in a way where like I want to beat it. I want to roll credits. And to be fair,
I'm the exact same way.
Technically did that with arcade mode, although I wouldn't really count that.
Arcade mode is like 12 minutes long.
Exactly.
And you get the full credits, which take like 20 minutes to go through, and then you get like 40 pieces of art every time you've finished it.
Yeah, but World Tour, I think it's fun to have a creative character in Street Fighter, and I don't think having this mode like detracts from my view on the game. I'm just not as high on it as other people. It's good. People always criticize fighting games for this, of not having an in-depth, story mode. Yeah. I just think they could have gone about it in a different way. I'm not sure how much you played, but it's just an open world thing where you're running around basically doing fetch quests, kind of. And I think you're actually in New York in the starting area. You kind of travel around the world, and you kind of see these different locations and environments, and you meet the actual Street Fighter cast, and you can be your trainers, and there's like this whole skill tree thing going on.
Yeah.
Not for me, especially because like I'm already like not great at fighting games, and when you put blatant disadvantages on me because I'm lower leveled, that's just annoying. I don't want to go grind in a fighting game. That's not fun to me.
Sure.
So World Tour has not been my thing, but just playing online with friends and ranked. We have another fighting game we'll talk about when we get to Summer Games Fest, but I feel comfortable like being excited for a fighting game now, and I'm excited to play more of this. I feel like this is like the breaking point for me. We're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I can play these now. It's really nice.
Yeah, for me, it's the modern controls mixed with the passion of my friends also being into it. You being the first time you're getting into it, but also my friend Abram, my roommate Tanner, my friend Joe, my friend Sam, everyone I know that I often play video games with. This is the first time really trying to get into a fighting game, and there's been varying degrees of success. I'd say I'm somewhere in the middle. Tanner really has not quite gotten the grip of it. Abram and Joe were kicking my ass consistently.
We need to fight.
They were playing. But for me, this does everything that I wanted out of a fighting game, and it's for multiple reasons that even you didn't mention, which was I think the fully featured nature of having the Battle Hub. I think Battle Hub is phenomenal. It being this area where you can meet other people and get into the sort of energy of fighting games instead of it just being a menu. I think that is a really sort of sterile way to approach the game of just select a match and then you start the match. That's it. And it being that I've got my creative character and I'm going around this little hub area and I can go back to the corner and play some arcade games and I can square up in the middle and fight an avatar battle if I want to and go shopping and take some pictures with my friends and look at all the other weird creative characters. Battle Hub, I think, is genuinely fantastic. It doesn't make any fucking sense, like canonically, I guess, but it's like it's so
Who cares?
cool. Who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, the modern controls have really allowed me to get a grip on doing combos and understanding the flow of a fighting game match to where I'm doing reasonably well. I'm mostly playing Kimberly and Marissa. I think they're both very fun. I very much focus on the new characters, which I think maybe my only complaint right now is that the game is focused on the old characters. Like we have all the original characters from the Street Fighter 2.
Except for M. Bison, which is a crazy omission.
Well, he's dead. No, because he's dead. He died at the end of the story of 5.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that. He'll come back. He'll be in the deal. He'll be in the DLC.
Maybe
season 3 of Street Fighter 6. Mark it.
Now here's the thing. All right, last week I talked about how I had played multiple versions of other Street Fighter games. I went through the Alpha 3 and 4, but I also played through the story mode of 5 this week.
Oh, nice.
Which is terrible.
Yeah. Well, okay. Can you give me some clarification? I was a little confused because I know I played it last year, but I was not paying attention to the story. I was kind of skipping it because it was god awful.
Yeah, it's really.
It was like a 3-hour story, right? It was very short.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I see.
It's this long.
Yeah.
And so I know that Shadaloo was defeated at the end of this story with the whole Black Moons thing, and now Chun-Li is training Li Fen, and we got Rashid in the story, and he's one of the first DLC characters. So I actually am like sort of into the idea of learning the story, and which is why I'm excited to say that I'm actually really enjoying World Tour mode. I think that the grindiness of it and the kind of turn your brain off, just explore a world and do some fights element is something that I like occasionally out of games. Does it make it very well designed, super engaging? No, not necessarily. But I think the idea of having your create a character be this generic person that you level up and kind of try to put a little personality on, and you can walk on the street and battle level 3 Tony and punch him in the fucking face. It's the exact same place that you click start the battle. There's so many little flourishes in there that make me really appreciate it. I think that using special moves to explore the environment, like Luke's uppercut and Chun-Li's like sort of spin kick, which lets you like hover across gaps. That's such a cool way to reinvent a move. Like I've seen Chun-Li do her spinning kick in other games, but it was never to like cross a gap. It was to hit another person. And learning more about the characters, like receiving texts from Chun-Li and just exploring this area. It is ridiculous and it's kind of like low budget, but I think it has a really great charm to it. And unfortunately, because I'm here and I didn't take a PS5 with me on the plane, I don't have access to Street Fighter 6. So I won't be able to play this game until I get back, but I'm really going to make an attempt to get back into it, not only to play more World Tour, which I think I played in 4 or 5 hours of. I'm like,
you know what chapter? Oh, chapter 3?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm much farther than you. Wow, I was surprised.
I guess I'm just taking my time.
Yeah. I've been doing. There's like side quests. To me, that's not very interesting in the context of a Street Fighter. Maybe I'm just not in the right mindset. I'm sure if you are a diehard Street Fighter fan, or even if you're just a casual Street Fighter fan, that could be what you're looking for. To me, I just kind of want to fight actual Street Fighter characters a little bit.
That's fair.
So doing a side quest where it's like, oh, go. There's also like there's like items. It's cool, right? But then you can just have an item that restores your vitality during battle.
Yeah,
it's a very cheesy mode.
It is, absolutely. And I don't know how I'll feel about it by the end. Again, I'd like to try to finish it at some point. It's like 20 hours long, which sounds way too long.
I think I'm on chapter 7, I think, so I'm about halfway through.
Oh, there's 15 chapters.
Yeah, so I'm about halfway through.
But I think maybe I'll like it less by the end of it if I end up finishing it. But as of now, I'm really enjoying it, and it does, I think, really complete this package. It makes the game feel a lot more fully featured, and also for a game that is as straightforward as Street Fighter in terms of classically Street Fighters just jump into a square and punch another guy that's on the other side. Having there be not only Battle Hub, which you can go and like kind of dick around in, or and World Tour mode, which allows you to play something completely different structure-wise, makes it feel like I can just, okay, I'm kind of tired of just going online and fighting either my friends or on ranked or training. I can go mess around with something else in Street Fighter, so I'm still immersed in Street Fighter. Kind of let that simmer down. That actually, I'm feeling like I'm a little bit better at the game now that I've sort of practiced up in World Tour. I'll hop over to playing Mirza back online, or I've got my avatar quite a bit stronger now. So if I go do some avatar matches, I'll be able to beat some guys up. There's a really nice feedback loop in the balance between World Tour Battle Hub and Fighting Hub, I think it's called. I really think
Fighting Grounds.
It's such a complete package. I think it's a really phenomenal game. Probably will end up being one of my favorites of the year by the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, same for me.
That I would be saying.
same for me. Both games I'm playing this week, I'll definitely have up there. But you're right. It is nice to have that complete package because, like I said, this is normally the complaint with fighting games is that they lack something else. Yeah. And what you said, you're right. I do ranked a little bit. I play like an hour of ranked or something. Maybe probably not that long. This is a very nice game to play in short bursts. Yeah. But I'll play like 30 minutes of ranked or something, and then I'll be tired of ranked. I'll go check out World Tour. And even if I don't like World Tour, it is nice to just have that there. Mm-hmm. So Street Fighter 6, it's already sold over 1 million copies. Doing good for Capcom. I respect it, and I'm just happy. It makes me so much more excited for. We'll talk about later. Mortal Kombat 1. I am so fucking excited for that game now. Knowing I liked this has put me on this like wavelength where I'm like, oh yes, that's gonna be a serious contender for me as well. There's a clear game of the year, but like the second game of the year. We have the runner up. So Street Fighter 6 doing great stuff. Tucker, we are also playing another game that we talked about already, Kirby Tilt and Tumble. Now you beat the game. I only played the first world, so I don't want to say too much about it. But I will say this is a game I have heard. It's one of those quirky Nintendo games, so I never know like fully how to weigh people's opinions online about it. I've pretty much
played them.
Right. I've pretty much only heard positive things about it from the people that have played it. People are like, oh, Tilt and Tumble's really fun, cute game.
Yeah.
I really don't like it. I've only beaten the first world, which to be fair is like 20 minutes of gameplay.
It is.
But I was playing at first I was trying to be quirky and I played in handheld mode and I realized that's not going to work. I mean, that's how the Game Boy game was designed. Is it really? It just I don't know, like the speed at which Kirby moves, doing the flick thing to make him jump, it just wasn't working well for me. So I switched to my Pro Controller, and I do want to get back to it. I want to handheld mode. I do want to get back to it and finish it because it is a short game, and I do want to try to finish every Kirby game. Yeah, under 2 hours, really. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'll get back to that and finish it. Probably talk about it some more next week. But I don't know. Maybe my expectations for Kirby Tilt and Tumble were too lofty. Really, really hyped up game Kirby Tilt and Tumble.
Yeah. Well, so I think I felt about the same way as you for the first half of the game. And frankly, this is how I usually end up feeling about most Kirby games. And I'm like, okay, like I like the aesthetic, and it's kind of simple and fun, but like I want a little more meat on my bones in my games, which is why I'm not a Kirby fan. But I do think that the game gets a lot better when you hit that second half. I think that the mechanics in the level, like the level gimmicks and the level theming, are a lot more consistent. And I was kind of slogging through that first half, and I was checking like, okay, what's the list of how many levels there are on this?
I did the exact same thing. I was like, all right, how long is this gonna take me?
exactly. But there was a certain point that I hit where I was like making good momentum, and I would finish a world, like I'd be fighting the boss, which by the way, there's only like 2 bosses in this game, or two kinds of bosses in this game.
I was gonna say I actually enjoyed that first boss fight. I thought that was fun. It was simple. That one
4 more times.
Sure.
Kind of thing. There's also you fight Krakow twice, and then you fight DDD at the end. Fucking huge spoiler. I don't give a shit. But by the end of the game, I was playing and I'd hit a boss. I'm like, oh, that was a whole world. Oh, that was kind of nice.
There's 8 worlds, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think it absolutely picks up steam. Especially because I got a lot better at the controls by the end of the game.
That might have been my issue as well.
Area. Yeah, we'll see. But it's one of the few Kirby games that I genuinely enjoyed by the end of it, which is few and far between. This is the 18th Kirby game that I've played. That's a lot of goddamn games.
Have you played Return to Dreamland Deluxe?
Yeah, I did.
Did you enjoy that? Okay. Let me recontextualize the question.
Fine.
Do you play them co-op?
No.
There you go.
Yeah, no, Kirby with
play it with your little boyfriend you live with.
No, he doesn't. He and I played It Takes Two, as we'll get to. but
yeah,
he doesn't play that many video games. And also, most of the time I'm playing games, he's out at work or doing something else. So.
You know what? This is totally valid. I was also a Kirby hater for many years. I especially I always played I liked Epic Yarn and I like Super Kirby Clash.
It's one of the best ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I like Super Kirby Clash, it's a little free to play game. But Star Allies releasing really cemented my disdain for this franchise. I was like, wow, this sucks.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, Star Allies is not a game most people like. I went back and played it again last year, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty decent with all the updates they did.
It's got a great final boss fight.
Yeah, most Kirby games do. But yeah, I think the key factor for me starting to like Kirby was every Kirby game I've played in the past year, starting with Forgotten Land, which I think is one of the best Switch games. Easily. I played co-op with my girlfriend.
It's so far away, the best Kirby game, it's not even funny. Like, I can't even fathom how much better it is than every other entry in the franchise.
But then again, now that I think about it, Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot are single player only, and I enjoyed those as well. Maybe just playing it co-op with my girlfriend for Return of Dreamland and Forgotten Land kind of just like put me in the mindset, and now I'm more willing to accept Kirby for what it is.
Co-op in Forgotten Land. I tried that. Oh, interesting.
It was fun.
Robobot is also great. I don't want to. There are very few Kirby games that I genuinely like. It's Forgotten Land, Epic Yarn, Planet Robobot, Tilt and Tumble, and I like 64 more than most people, but it's not great.
I haven't finished that one. I didn't like what I played of it, but
for me, it's an element of scale. There are Kirby games that I like. For the longest time, there weren't, because I didn't play obviously Forgotten Land that came out last year. I didn't play that till last year, and I didn't play Robobot till last year. And those are two of the
I also played Robobot for the first time last year, and yeah, it's fantastic.
I've played 18 of these games, and so many of them are aggressively fucking mid. Even some of the ones that people say are like, oh, all-time classics, Kirby's Adventure, Kirby Superstar. No. I honestly think they're just poorly designed, bland-ass fucking games. And that's so many of the games that I've played.
It is interesting because I've not played Superstar or Superstar Ultra, which I know are like that's the cream of the that's the cream of the crop for most people. But I've played Adventure and I've played Dreamland 1 through 3. Played Dreamland 2 for the first time earlier this year. Yeah. I think you are right. I don't think the early Kirby games are good. I don't think Kirby got good until probably Return to Dreamland, to be completely honest with you. And then you spin off like Canvas Curse, and I think Rainbow Curse is actually pretty good on Wii U. Epic Yarn, obviously. I would say Epic Yarn actually, I guess, because that came out before Return to Dreamland, was like the tipping point for me.
Sure.
But like I've played Squeak Squad and Mass Attack. Those games are not good.
Yeah,
they're genuine. I haven't played the GBA games. I people love Kirby Air Ride. I haven't played that. Kirby is a weird, very the quality disparity is there's a very large gap between the quality of Kirby games, and I do think it has only gotten better over the past decade. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Generation of Kirby games is the best,
easily.
Generation. Well, I guess if you started at like middle of the last generation, where you end with Robot and Canvas and Rainbow Curse, and then you're like, oh, okay. There's a bunch of shit ass fucking spin-offs. You get the like downloadable DDD's Drum Dash Deluxe. And,
those are whatever. Those don't even count. Like those don't even.
Kind of do though, because they were sold individually.
Those were free to play.
And then Kirby Fighters I have not tried, but I haven't heard good things about. And
Pokemon Cafe Remix isn't hindering your enjoyment of Scarlet and Violet, Tucker.
No, I didn't say. I didn't say that. No, all right. Current gen Kirby is fantastic. With me playing Forgotten Land last year, and we didn't even talk about, but Dream of Fate. Dream of Fate is fucking great. It's a fun little dumb game. We're getting a little yikes.
It was fun. The really bad connection in that game.
Oh really?
Very laggy. Yeah, very laggy. And it's already done. I tried playing it a few weeks ago. I was like, oh, this game was cute. Server's already done. So.
Oh man, that's not a good sign.
That I will never understand why they didn't make that game free on Switch Online. It would have been such a perfect game for it. Yeah.
But Bo, I will cream my pants when we get another 3D Kirby game announced. It's gonna be fantastic.
Dude, Forgotten Land, I genuinely think that's like a top 5 Switch game. Like it's real. Maybe not quite that good, but it's
up there.
It's up there. Top 10 for sure. So yeah, Kirby, keep doing your Kirby thing. Yeah. Are there any other Kirby games we still need to get on Switch Online? I don't think so. Oh, the GBA games, Nightmare and Dreamland, and
yes, and Nightmare and Dreamland was announced.
No, the other one. What's the other one? Nightmare and Dreamland's the remake. There was another one. One game. Amazing Mirror. That's it.
Oh yes, you're right.
Yeah, that's the one that was announced.
Yes.
So we'll be getting those soon. I haven't played either of those as well, so I'll be playing those for the first time. I'm excited. Now, Tucker, you already alluded to it. This is a game I played in 2021. This is one of the best games I've ever played straight up. It Takes Two. Yeah. You finally played it. What do you think?
Yeah. We're going to do a mini review here because we both played it. I can't believe this game.
I agree. It's unfathomable. I had no expectation going into it. I was like, "Oh, it's from Hazelight. You know, I liked Brothers. It was fine. I didn't play A Way Out, but I didn't think the game. I didn't think the game looked that good in like the trailers and pre-release stuff. Oh, really? And then I thought it looked fine. I wasn't like excited for it though. Sure. And I got it on sale on Black Friday in 2021, right before the Game Awards happened, and I played it with my girlfriend, and we platinumed that thing in like one sitting, 2 sittings. Yeah. Dude, it is. It's probably it's the best co-op game ever made.
Oh, easily. Yeah. But I think why that sticks out to me and why it sort of cements my engagement and excitement with modern game design and what is sort of possible now that we've had such a great history of games and lineage and learning different things about what can work in co-op, what works in terms of action spectacle and cut scenes and you know the technical fidelity and all that. Is It Takes Two is kind of the best of the best modern third-person action single player like Sony style games of, you know, you got your set pieces, you got some action, you got some fighting, you got some cutscenes, but they do that all like 7 or 8 different times with different art styles and different worlds and different mechanics. And also it's co-op, which means the entire world needs to be designed twice with 2 different sets of puzzles that are entirely different. And I the only thing that I think holds this game back from being one of my favorite games of all time is I do think that the story is just so basic, and it's like there's no twists really.
I think that's fine though for a game like this.
I absolutely
because and you know I think this game was designed for you to play with your friend or your girlfriend or whatever that doesn't really play games. Yeah. So when you have that moment where like they rip apart the stuffed animal and they can just be like, as like a casual gamer, be like, oh no, I think it's fine. It doesn't need to be like an in-depth story, you know?
Yeah. But I mean, otherwise, this cements, I think, Hazelight as one of the best working developers. I also think that I played A Way Out and I enjoyed it.
I think they need one more hit to really cement themselves, because I don't know if they can do this again. To be honest with you,
I don't know. We'll see.
I'm excited. We'll probably see soon. But
It Takes Two sold a ton of units.
It won Game of the Year.
Copies. And it won Game of the Year.
Yeah.
But I mean, just thinking about how beautiful this game looks from a technical perspective, the textures on everything are fantastic.
On PS5 and Xbox, not Switch, guys.
No, don't
get the Switch version.
We were talking about that today when we saw. You see, It Takes Two in that whatever direct it was in. I'm like, what did they do to you? But again, technical fidelity is really impressive, especially because these worlds are so varied and they're always changing. The design of each of these areas, which by the way, I guess we're talking about this, it's a Switch game, so this is still relevant to our Nintendo podcast.
Yeah, that works. All you naysayers, we are a Nintendo podcast.
But the fact that they continually reinvent what the worlds are and change what the mechanics are, like within like 5-minute time span, is just so impressive. And there's just some amazing spectacle set piece moments and stuff. And I don't know, I was just so blown away by it. It's so cool that won Game of the Year as well.
No, I was so happy I played it before then. I know Game of the Year doesn't really matter, but as someone who loves just partaking in like the talk of the town gaming industry, I felt so nice that I was like, oh, I played it before. It blew up.
Cool.
Yeah, before it was cool.
I was excited about it before it was cool, but I didn't play it.
Yeah, I thought it looked fine. I don't know. I was like, oh, it's that EA game, EA original game, and I mean, EA's been doing great stuff. EA on the upswing. Definitely on the upswing, certainly.
Yeah.
But yeah, It Takes Two was absolutely fantastic. You're right, just like the way it changes every level, every 5 seconds mechanically. I mean, there's a level like you'll have like the girl character will have like a blaster on her shoulder. You'll have some other ability. It's just constantly changing. It's all really intuitive. And you're right, they had to design 2 games basically both ways. Yeah. And for them to make that all work so well, and it's not like there's ever a point where like, oh, this puzzle's really hard. Everything in this game makes sense, but it's not in a way that's too easy either.
Yeah.
It's you feel smart when you solve things.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Tanner and I feel like fucking geniuses playing them.
Yeah.
And there's so much communication that's required with these puzzles in a way that I've never really experienced with puzzle games before. And I think that it does some really smart things with accessibility. Primarily, Hazelight being sort of the progenitor of this friend pass thing, where you buy a copy of the game and you can just have a friend download it so you can play online together, which is great. But also, if your co-op partner is not great at games, when they die, they don't die for good. You don't have to restart the checkpoint. They can mash. For me, it was triangle on PlayStation to respawn. And as long as one person is alive, that's fine. That's all you need. And I really thought that was a really smart design decision to keep momentum going. And so, like, you're not restarting at the checkpoint or restarting the boss phase every single time one of you dies. It flows so well. It's paced so well. And that platinum is so much fun. Because, I mean, all it requires is you to explore every level and find the Easter eggs.
You got the platinum?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
there's I can't remember the level. There was like this. It was like a miniature toy town, like snowy level. I think. My memory's a little bit hazy. Pun intended, Hazelight. There's like this tower you need to climb at one point. It's like actually like hard platforming tower. Do you know? Oh, yeah, dude. It took me like an hour to do that. My girlfriend was just sitting here watching me, and I was just like suffering on the inside, dude.
We did not, because there's a way to circumvent that. Because after
you cheating little rascal.
Oh, I don't give a fuck. Right after you do that, you ride on some birds up above a giant area. You can just turn the birds around and land on top of the tower and get the trophy.
You piece of shit. I bled for that trophy.
we spent like 30 minutes doing it, and we're like,
it was really hard.
It's fucking tough, dude.
But it's optional, which is great.
Yeah, and it's the only part of the game that's like that. I think it's really cool. And also, some really great Easter eggs. Joseph Fares saying "fuck the Oscars" is in that game as an Easter egg.
Is it? Oh, I think I remember that. Yeah.
And also, you got Leo and whatever the hell the other guy's name is.
From A Way Out.
From A Way Out, yeah. As and the whole cutscene that plays out, like, oh, we're toys. Oh, this is free.
Yeah.
Joseph Fares, there's nothing like him, and I think that if he can deliver another game of the year quality game, maybe not winning, but like being in that conversation, which especially will be true now that his last game won, I think he'll be cemented as one of the
greats
of this generation, because he's already a personality more distinct than almost anyone in games history, because he's had so many moments of like shouting random stuff on stage and like being a really brash guy, but he's also just so genuine. He's so passionate. Yeah. And this game is just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal, man.
Yeah. Sometimes when developers come up on stage on Game Awards or Summer Games Fest or E3, whatever it is, it can feel like they're just kind of reading like a thing. Yeah. And like, I'm not saying they're not passionate today. They're not. It's not that they're not passionate about it. But maybe they're not like. I don't know. There's something about Joseph Fares where you can just see on his face that he is excited for you to look at his game. And you're right. I mean, it's funny to think too, because that was the Fuck the Oscars was 2018 when A Way Out came out, I think. Maybe even before that. And back then it was like, oh, this is just the funny Fuck the Oscars guy. Yeah. But you're right. If he makes another game of this caliber, he's gonna go down as one of the greatest visionaries in the industry, which is so cool.
Because no one else is doing it like him. No one else does. Not only co-op games are so rare, but especially AAA co-op games, and also AAA co-op games that not only are, okay, so this team is making it, but it's on the level of quality of everything else. Like, this game doesn't skip on visuals or design or length or anything. It's the full length and the full visuals and the full creativity and everything. And it's also just a very Nintendo game in the way that it introduces mechanics and sort of reinvents them over the course of the level, and you sort of learn different things, and it has this sort of charm and whimsy about it. I can't say enough good things about it. It's goddamn.
Yeah, I would love to read some interviews about like what if there are any of him saying like what games inspired this for him. Yeah, because it's very different. I mean, it's co-op, but it is very different from A Way Out and Brothers in a lot of ways.
Yes.
So, yeah, and then just once again, shout out EA allowing this man to just do what he does. Yeah, that's really big for EA.
Yeah,
It Takes Two does not look like an EA game. This is not an EA game. It was yeah. So, good stuff. We were talking about this when we were watching Summer Games Fest. I think it might be a little bit too soon, but maybe at the Game Awards we see his next game, because at that point It Takes Two will be almost 3 years old, I believe, right? Or no? Well, yeah, because that was 2021. Yeah, so because it came out in spring. Yeah, so we could see an announcement soonish.
Yes, absolutely.
But also there's a lot of pressure now. It Takes Two, so I'm gonna have to replay it soon. Were you playing anything else this week, Tucker, or should I go in and get into my novel?
Yes. Well, I started Detective Pikachu.
Sure. Tell me about it.
As everyone is doing currently.
I saw you tweet about it. I didn't interact with your tweet. I was tempted, if I had enough time, I was tempted to like just play a bunch of it last night and surprise you. Really? And be like, oh, I was playing Detective Pikachu, but now
really funny.
I feel like doing that. I'm not playing Detective Pikachu. What do you think this is?
This is a bizarre game. I can't believe that Nintendo published this game. It's not very well designed.
It's like a point and click mystery, like you just like find objects, right? Kind of vibe.
You play as this kid named Tim Goodman, whose dad is missing, and it's the same story as the movie. We all saw the fucking movie, and he's got his Pikachu with him, who talks, and you are in these little environments, largely 2D environments. I mean, you can like walk back and forth, but it's just basically 2D. It's not like you're exploring really, where there's people, Pokemon, and interactable objects in the environment, and you just basically go from area to area, talk to a person, go through their checklist of the different topics you can talk to them about. You learn something about whatever they know about. You file it away in your case files. You walk to the next person. You walk to the next Pokemon. You hear something about, oh, okay, I need to go over this area. And you just kind of rinse and repeat that for a while. I mean, this isn't a particularly short game. This is like a 9 or 10 hour game. And on that design level, it's so basic. I mean, there's some really simple puzzle solving stuff, but basically, like, if you talk to Detective Pikachu by tapping on the screen, he'll kind of like guide you in the right direction. But I still think that I'm enjoying it because the production value is pretty good in the cutscenes. I think that the voice acting is surprisingly good. Detective Pikachu himself, the character, is, I think, probably the best Pokemon character of all time. He's got so much charm, so much personality. The animations on him in the little cutscenes are varied and ridiculous, and he says all sorts of crazy stuff. He's fully voice acted. And the mystery I'm finding more compelling as I'm going. But unfortunately, all the rest of the characters are just a wooden, bored, horseshit, nothing. Fucking, I hate Tim Goodman. Most anime. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm trying to. Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
You should be a voice actor.
Fuck that guy. I don't. If I have to voice characters like Tim Goodman, I'd rather do anything else. But I'm gonna stick with it because I think I'd like to see it to the end. But I don't recommend it. I think it's a very interesting game. It's so unique that Nintendo did this.
Only Pokemon game developed by creatures.
Yeah,
worth noting.
Which is
so weird. Yeah,
but it's not a very good game. It's just interesting. It intrigues me. It makes no damn sense. It compels me though.
Yeah, I haven't played it. I think I maybe played like 30 minutes of it on 3DS. Yeah. And I do want to get to it eventually. I think what compels me more about Detective Pikachu is its continued troubled release schedule and announcement cycles. Because if you don't know, Tucker, this game was announced with a really creepy tech demo of Pikachu's face back in 2013 for the 3DS. It was like this off-screen screenshot from some sort of developer, like boardroom meeting type thing, where they said, hey, we're making this weird Pikachu game. Get ready for it, guys. Before X and Y came out, or maybe around the time X and Y came out. And then like a year later, they released episode 1 in Japan.
Yeah.
And then like 5 years later, they released it all at once on 3DS. And then in 2019, we saw, is it Detective Pikachu 2? Is it Detective Pikachu 1? We don't really know. They announced it for Switch. That was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
As of last week. So Detective Pikachu, it's so interesting to me that out of all things that could have troubled developments or troubled release schedules, it is Detective Pikachu.
Yeah. Well, I think that the element that kind of makes sense for me of like why that would like stick out from Nintendo, what other things Nintendo publishes and works on, is that Creatures doesn't make games. So it's bizarre that they're making their own game.
It's definitely not their focus, I would imagine.
It's exactly. As
a company.
Also, it's so different from everything else Nintendo does. I mean, this is a mostly like voice acted and motion capture cutscene game. Like that's most of it, and that's bizarre. They don't do that. So I'm sure that like figuring that out and having Creatures work on this and like translating things and getting different voice actors and like it's just a bizarre game. So it kind of makes sense that like because it's so different that it would like be a little bit trickier for them to handle. But I don't think Detective Pikachu 2 is coming out. I know the movie's been canceled, but I don't.
Has it been canceled officially?
I believe that the movie was canceled. Yes.
We'll talk about some Nintendo movies in a bit, but I don't know. I'm not. Well, once again, I don't think it was ever confirmed to be a sequel to Detective Pikachu. It just said Detective Pikachu for Nintendo Switch.
Sure.
So it was assumed to be.
I believe I remember something about continuing the story from the 3DS.
Ooh, maybe. It was weird
like,
wording that people thought like, oh, it was gonna be like a remaster plus like new stuff or something, like something like that.
Also possible.
But we might be talking about that.
Would that sell anything? Would that do anything? A new game, I think, could be interesting if it's like got different mechanics to it and a different story. But if it's just a remaster of a game that sold 50,000 copies, that's probably too low, but a tiny amount on 3DS, late 3DS game, no one gives a fuck.
We'll talk about Detective Pikachu when we get to our E3 predictions.
This guy.
That face. You weren't playing anything else, correct? Or nothing you want to talk about? Okay, so let me talk about Diablo for a minute here.
Diablo 4.
Yeah, so this is the week of self-discovery. I always like to reflect at the end of the year of like, what games did I play? What games that were on my backlog, or like new genres that I wanted to try out?
Yeah.
Got your Katamari hat there. I'm sure we'll hear about that next week from you. I always like to reflect at the end of the year, being like, okay, I finally played this game, or I finally tried out this thing.
What was I introduced to? How did my horizons expand over the course?
So like last year, for example, I played Paper Mario for the first time, the original game. I played both Bayonetta games. This year, I tweeted out, I have a list. I wanted to do Metroid Prime, all three of them. So I've done the first one, obviously. And Thousand Year Door I want to get to, and maybe like a Mario and Luigi game. But what I didn't expect to do this year was, not only did I put like 100 hours into Final Fantasy XIV in February, which is my first time ever playing an MMO, and I really enjoyed it. Maybe not, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know if it's actually that great or anything, but I enjoyed it, and that's I do want to get back to it. Game. Yeah, the music's fucking great, dude. I just listen to music sometimes. Just really relaxing stuff. But I didn't expect Street Fighter, fighting game. That's a new thing for me. Diablo. I had no expectation going into this. It got really good reviews, but I've never played a Diablo game. We talked, I think, on maybe the first episode of this podcast, I had beaten Minecraft Dungeons, co-op with my girlfriend, and then you played it the following week. And that is a very, obviously, kid-friendly version of what a dungeon crawling, looting kind of game can be. But I've never played, this is the king of them all. This is like the franchise for what our Diablo likes. That is what we would call them.
RPGs?
Sure. But they're Diablo-likes. Although I don't know, I don't think I've ever actually heard someone say Diablo-like, but I'm starting it now.
Diablo-likes.
It's like, you ever heard the term Wolfen Doom? It's a good Wolfen Doom.
That's fucking terrible. I mean, obviously they're trying to ape on Metroidvania.
Yeah, of course. It's funny. But Diablo 4, I'm really enjoying it. I don't know how good the game actually is. It does a lot of interesting stuff, and you know, it's kind of what I was saying with World Tour, with Street Fighter. I don't know if I'm just not feeling it right now. Something about Diablo 4 is just hitting right now. It is very mindless. It is very easy. But I didn't know the game was open world. I would expect games like this to be more level based, but it's this huge open world in Diablo. I am about halfway through the story, so I think I played maybe 20 hours a lot of this game now.
Wow, that's a lot.
And you know, I think for a lot of people, they get invested in the story and the characters for Diablo. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just the simple action of playing the game and upgrading my character and getting better loot is really satisfying in a way I wasn't expecting. And something that Blizzard did with this game, and maybe the other Diablo games are like this. So you have like your 5 main classes. I went with a Necromancer. The skill tree is pretty big, but it's also very manageable.
Sure.
But you're not getting everything from it. Even if you get to max level, you're not getting everything. So you do different builds with each class. And the way that all of these abilities work in conjunction with each other is just really satisfying. Trying out, you know, you can respec your character completely for maybe 10,000 gold. Just refund it, so that's like nothing. And just try out new builds within your already preset class. That's just been a lot of fun. And they do a really good job of like telegraphing, like, okay, you should, if you bought this skill, you should buy this skill, because they have like different colored icons. So I'm doing a bone build where I use a lot of bone moves, and those icons are like gray. So I know, okay, as a new player who's not really great at like character building and stuff like that, I should mostly be going for these while dabbling in some other stuff. And just that gameplay loop, that feedback loop of going around this, like I said, this huge open world. I just got the mount finally, so I'm able to traverse much faster. Has been a lot of fun. I did convince one of my friends to buy it, and then I'm PS5 sharing it with my friend Caleb. So we've been playing it together off and on. I have never seen a game do multiplayer like this, and it is very good, where I can see why people would have issue with this. But for me, it's working really well because I have more time to play this than Caleb, for example. No matter what, if you are playing with a friend, let's say I join Caleb, he's level 10 right now. I'm level 40. The enemies on my screen are level 40. The enemies on his screen are level 10. It basically your level doesn't matter.
Yeah.
In a really weird, interesting way. Your stats are increasing, but it does this weird thing where it scales the enemies up to you. So I've been helping him through the story, not helping him, but playing through the story with him, stuff I did a long time ago, and it's not pointless. I'm getting that XP. It still feels like I'm making progress in my own character, my own world. You can do your own story, you can do your own side quests while in a shared world, and that's just really interesting. I don't think I've seen that before in a multiplayer game, and it's nice because, like I said, if he doesn't have that time to play the game, usually with games like these, like for example Final Fantasy 14, if you get way ahead of your friend, you're not playing with them anymore.
Yeah.
So I can see why people would have issue with that because it does make the leveling system almost irrelevant in a sense. But that's really cool. One issue I will say, this game is always online, and I bought like the deluxe edition because I wanted to play it early last week. I mentioned it, and I was excited to play it because it came out before Street Fighter, and I can't think of too many other online only games I played like. In the sense of like I'm playing this as a single player game for the most part, but it's online only. When you're rubber banding around and what in my current context was a single player game, that's really weird. Frustrating. Yeah. Like right off rip, I was just rubber banding around in like the tutorial area. So I just turned off the game and didn't play it for a couple days. I was like, I'm not doing this. I considered if you don't get a trophy, you can refund the game. I considered refunding it because I was like, I don't know if I want this. But then I gave it a chance. It started working well. It's really frustrating when like it's down for maintenance because you just can't play it at all, which is stupid. I don't know why there's not an offline mode, but that's really my only real issue. I just think it's just a solid podcast game. It is a solid game to just play while you're listening to podcasts, which to be honest, I listen to a couple podcasts, but I don't really listen to them while I'm going to sleep or I'm weird. I actually like listen to the podcast. Like I will sit here and listen to the podcast and like maybe do some other stuff on my computer, but not much else. This has been very good for just like listening to like Xbox Showcase prediction type podcasts and these kinds of things and just playing it mindlessly, not paying attention to the story, but just leveling up my character. And I definitely think I'll see it through to the end. I don't know how much I'll play it beyond that because this is a live service game that they want you to play for hundreds of hours. I don't know if I'll do all that, but at least to the end of the story mode, Diablo 4. Definitely, once again, on my list for top games this year. I'm surprised, to be honest. I'm surprised I'm enjoying it as much as I am.
Everything you've told me sells me more on it, and I was already pretty sold on this game. It just being new and receiving as much accolades as it is, and also, I believe being touted as pretty beginner friendly. Of this being a good jump.
It's an easy game. I'm sure like you get like the nightmare dungeons and everything. It can be really hard, but I've died like maybe 3 times on boss fights.
Okay. Yeah, but I would like to try this. I'm currently working on saving up some money via I graduated, so aunts and grandparents or stuff and are sending me $100 bills mostly. So I got 3 $100 bills currently, and that fund is going towards getting me a fucking PS5 with a disc drive because the PS5 that Tanner and I share does not have a disc drive, and so. When I get my own PS5 with a disc drive, I would like to get a copy of Diablo 4. I'd like to get my own copy of Street Fighter 6. I want to have these games. I want to own these games. So I'm gonna get to that game at some point. The end of my summer in late July and August is really like rocky and busy with like small trips and doing weird shit. So I don't know when I'll get to this, especially because also Final Fantasy 16 and Pikmin 4 are coming kind of soon. It's there's
there's a megaton in between there that you didn't even mention.
Yes, there is.
That we'll get to.
That we'll talk about. But before the end of the year, I would like to have played Diablo because I feel like I'm going to be on the exact same page as you.
Let me know when you get it. I think by that point maybe I'll be like ready to try it out again.
Sure. Okay, interesting. Yeah. If I play it in the
like October. Yeah.
I like that. I like that idea.
Yeah. Get me back in
and
there.
Also,
get my toes in
because that point
like
sale.
Oh yeah, it'll be like a $30 game at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, if I can get a sort of Black Friday thing, yeah.
Now Tucker, you should save that $300 towards your PAX West trip, but that's just my advice.
Which we just came up with the idea for today. So I haven't put too much thought into that.
The Nintendo Select podcast meetup.
Yeah.
Your host, Never mind. I shouldn't say anything. Might be eating some dinner. Let's just say that. That's exciting.
Oh. Little had the bow meal together?
might get the bow meal together.
Bo didn't get the Taco Bell with what game was
Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy promo code for DoorDash on for the talk. You get a free burrito or something with your $20. I want to stress that. I remember there was like a news station that like blew up because this guy was like, "Oh, I spent $30 at Taco Bell." For me and my girlfriend to both get like enough food to feed us for the entire day, it's like $14.
Yeah.
So the idea of, first of all, Taco Bell is within walking distance, so I would never do that. But the idea of spending $20+ on myself at Taco Bell is absurd.
Now, does that count the money that goes towards it? Like,
no, I don't. No, like the price of the actual item. This is the Taco Bell section. Let's go. Let's lean back here.
What are we? 4 weeks in a row here from Taco?
Yeah.
Taco
no,
Bell
that like your DoorDash fees don't apply to that. It's only the actual cost of the items. Which to be fair, they're probably more expensive on the app. But yeah, weird coupon, Jeff Keighley. Which we'll be talking about Summer Games Fest in a minute. I think we are good though on what we're playing. Tucker, are you ready to get into the major news? Stories.
It's time for the Megaton announcement.
You did a whole video with this on this with Abram on Backlog Banter. Yes. I also made I think 2 videos talking about it because it's always frustrating. Like I mentioned, it was announced maybe 5 hours after we recorded last week. But I'm glad we were initially going to do predictions last week. I'm glad we waited because I think this does change the conversation quite a bit.
Sure. Yeah.
At least for a lot of people. Nintendo announced a brand new first-party game last Thursday at 6 p.m. through a tweet. We don't even have gameplay.
No.
Everybody want to Switch.
We have, count them. We have one screenshot of this game.
Everybody want to Switch announced on June 1st, releasing on June 30th.
Yeah.
So releasing very soon.
2 days as of the time of recording.
We will be playing this and talking about it, of course, in the coming weeks. Tucker, so for those that don't know, Emily Rogers, very reputable insider in the Nintendo scene. She doesn't report too much anymore, but last year she was kind of on fire, reporting a bunch of stuff. We'll talk about one of them when we get to predictions because I do think it'll be announced this year. But she reported that Everybody Want to Switch was in development, completed, and apparently the focus testing for this game went so poorly that some of the people that got to play the game thought Nintendo might not want to release it because it would hurt their image as a quality games publisher. And for a lot of us, we thought, oh, maybe it'll just be like a free NSO drop. Maybe they don't want to do that to hurt the image of NSO, so maybe they just aren't going to release it. Nintendo sets on games. It's not that crazy to expect. But no, they are releasing it. Now, whether or not they put more work into it to fix it up, that remains to be seen.
No idea.
But I'm going to take a wild guess here and say they didn't. Because they didn't fucking release gameplay. And that is not a good sign. That is a horror. I don't care if it's like a weird party game. Not releasing any information. We don't know anything about this game. There's the cover art, it's up for pre-order. It's only $30 to be fair, not a full retail game, but it does have a physical, which is nice. We see in the main image that the people on the left, so there's the main horse in the middle. This is like the 2017 Reddit core energy here.
And I believe the character's name, at least as of the leaks, is just Horse.
Sure, Horse.
That's the character's name.
Is he like the MC Ballyhoo from Mario Party 8? Is he like the host of the host?
Yes. And
I didn't realize that.
From the articles about this game that were coming out about a year ago, is they were trying to come up with a name for this character who was the host and Horse, and they decided they would just call him Horse because it sounds like host, and so that's close enough. And I think that's really stupid, and it's possible that it's changed, but as of those leaks, the character's just named fucking Horse.
Awesome. But yeah, so on the left side of the image,
quality we're working with here.
Yeah, on the left side of the image, we see a bunch of people holding their Joy-Con sideways. I've been I think it's like some sort of like maybe like jackhammer, like it's HC Rumble, like that kind of thing.
No, it's like they're doing a Acme Dynamite, like they're
in
a cave and they're
something like that. Thing, But then most interestingly, on the right side of the image is a bunch of people holding up their smartphone device. Their very generic smartphone Android device. So while we don't have very many details,
cell phone.
We don't have very many details on this game. I think it's safe to assume it's some sort of Jackbox style thing. However, here's the issue with that, and here's why I think maybe this game didn't test very well. Sure, they'll probably just have separate modes where one mode is Joy-Cons and then one mode is phones. But if they tried to do any sort of cross thing there, that would not work. If you were playing with your phone and then someone's playing with a Joy-Con, you can't design the thing around the Joy-Con. 1-2 Switch, I think you enjoyed 1-2 Switch. I also kind of enjoyed it. It worked because it used the Joy-Con's tech.
Yeah, of course.
So if this is just a watered down version of 1-2 Switch with weird phone integration, that's not going to go over well. Not that this game's going to go over well to begin with, because no one likes 1-2 Switch. Yeah. But very interesting. It's the thing, we can't really have a deep discussion about it because we don't know how it's going to work.
No,
but
we're operating on the strangest assumptions, because this is like, okay, announcing a game with a logo and saying it's coming, like giving us the bare details. Usually that's when a game is early on in development. And we're not going to hear about it for a while. Then we're
the CGI reveal of everybody 1-2 Switch.
This is basically that equivalent, because we have the full key art, and there's a full page for it and everything. But the game comes out at the time of announcement, 29 days later. Yeah. And there's not information about this game. Now, the one thing that that I did discover with Abram, oh god, never mind, what was it? Was that this game is only online. There is, it requires an internet. There was something on the page that, here, hold on, let me go to the everybody 1-2 Switch.
No way.
Because there was a question mark about if they had changed some stuff that might make people... Oh, Christ. Google Chrome's doing some weird shit. Everybody 1-2 Switch. Okay, I'm going to the Everybody 1-2 Switch page. Buried in the information at the very bottom of the page. Okay, now actually, here's a little bit of information that kind of changes what you were saying earlier. Certain games only available in Joy-Con mode.
Okay.
Nintendo account compatible, smart device, and internet access required.
Do you think you need the Nintendo Switch Online app?
Smart device mode. Here's the detail. Here's the detail. Is that it's not that it's only online. That's the opposite of that. Is that there's no online play. So one of the things that was in the leaked stuff is that it was rooms up to 100 players. It was supposed to be like a big, huge party thing, and that's it's not feasible to do locally. And so my thought process was kind of like Jackbox is, okay, maybe they've reworked it so one person can host it on Discord.
Put the code in.
Everyone can join and from different locations. No, you can't do that. It's only available in local play. So it may have been redesigned around more party-focused local things, which is maybe better, maybe worse. I don't know. But I think that does maybe indicate that there was some reworking of this game. And I think that there won't be that problem of smartphones and Joy-Cons, because as we see in the small fine print, there's Joy-Con
There's going to be a separate thing on the menu.
Smartphone mode games, yeah. So there's more information here than we think. You just have to do a little bit of digging.
This is the weirdest Nintendo game to be announced, I think, probably since Labo, I would say.
Yeah.
1-2 Switch was a launch title, for those that don't know, of course, on the Switch, and it actually sold pretty well. It sold over 3 million copies. Sold more than ARMS.
Yeah.
Which is just a damn shame, at $50, and no one likes that game. It's very surface level stuff. It's one of those games you introduce to a friend once, and then you never play it again until you have another friend that hasn't played it. I'm not going back to that game. It's very fun to introduce two people to, and then you play it once, though. It's not like a party game you're coming back to with the same set of people. So I don't think anybody really expected this to be happening, but it does kind of make sense. I do wonder what kind of sales potential a game like this has. Obviously, it's $30, but maybe I don't know. I mean, Big Brain Academy sold over 1 million copies on Switch, and that was a $30 game. This could be like a sleeper, like a little stocking stuffer kind of game,
Sure. Yeah. I think that's kind of what it's aimed at. And also with the smartphone integration, I think that it's this is a interesting middle ground between what people were kind of going to the Switch for initially. Having 1-2 Switch be sort of a tech demo-y thing, but now this seems a little more thought out in terms of designing it around something other people do, which is Jackbox.
I think
is fucking huge.
Yeah, that's the thing. We kind of need to wait and see how in depth these games are.
Yeah.
Because if it is similar surface level, it's rumbling like it's the TNT block, that I don't know. I'm very curious. Okay, this being announced, we're gonna get into our direct predictions, but also we're gonna predict the timing of events.
Sure.
First of all, do you think this game will get a proper trailer before release, or do you think they're just gonna release it?
Yes. No, it has.
I think like 5 days before it comes out, we're gonna get a trailer. Like I'm talking like actually 5 days.
Here's the funny thing: there is no good time to put out that trailer. You know when the good time to put out that trailer was?
When it was announced.
Announce the game.
It's so weird.
There's
dude.
no. It's not like a week before the game comes out is better than 2 weeks before the game comes out. No, you put out the trailer so people know what the fucking game is when you announce the game. Bizarre, insane.
The tweet does have like 20 million views or something insane. Like it's
yeah.
So we'll see. And like I said, we'll talk about our predictions. I think this game releasing in June is very telling about their upcoming lineup. That's what I'll say. I think this means good things for the rest of the year for Switch.
Yeah.
So everybody want to Switch? I pre-ordered it. And alongside that announcement, I guess we can go and get into this. They did announce some new Joy-Con colors. Let me pull it up here. I'm actually pre-ordered a pair of them because I haven't bought a new pair in a while. I figured, you know what, I'll buy some pair of Joy-Cons here. Yeah, I treat myself. Well, initially, I had this like weird fear as a collector. I should have known. For like the first 4 days, it was only up for pre-order on the Nintendo store, like the website. And I was like, is this like some weird exclusive limited release?
Yeah.
It's not. It's available for pre-order everywhere. But I figured I was pre-ordering that on the store, so I was like, I was gonna pre-order a pair of Joy-Cons. So I got the pastel. It's like purple and green set, like a mint kind of aesthetic there. And they also have another pair of like a pink and a yellow. So new Joy-Cons. First time we've gotten new Joy-Con colors, and outside of a console bundle, probably since I want to say Skyward Sword HD. So it's been a while, and even those aren't new colors. Those are like a new special edition theme. So it's been a long time since we got new colors, new color Joy-Con. And those are releasing alongside the game on June 30th. Sucker. We probably won't have a ton to say here because it wasn't much of anything. But Pikmin 4 did get a new trailer this week.
It did.
Showing a new feature
incredibly short.
It is like a TV spot ad that like it's very weird. So all it revealed was character customization and like some very loose plot stuff for Pikmin 4. You can create your own character, which is actually really cool. Although it's a little sad because one of my favorite things about like Pikmin every Pikmin game is that you have your set new cast of characters. Like I think back to Pikmin 3, I think of like Charlie and Brittany and is it Alf?
Alf.
Yeah, God, they really named him Alf. That's crazy.
What's wrong with Alf?
It's just Alf, like the 80s TV show. Like it's just Alf.
Sure, yeah.
ALF, yeah.
I guess so. No, that's not how you spell his name though.
I know it's ALPH, but yeah,
PH,
Alf. It's a very funny name.
It's a very funny name.
But yeah, create a character. Not much more information. Like I said, we got some story stuff. Alamar is stuck on a planet again, and then the rescue team that was going to save him also crash landed. So
yeah.
They're not great at building ships. But we did have a write-in from our good friend Abram Buhner, and I have not vetted this question yet. He told us that we have to read it. Yeah. So let me read through this. He wrote us a doozy here. He said, I'm so pleased with the new Pikmin 4 trailer. The captain customization looks delightfully goofy. Every scrap of footage gets me more and more excited, but I'm curious how this game will do sales-wise. This is certainly Pikmin's We're So Back era, not just because of 4, but also because of the groundwork put in place by 3 Deluxe and Bloom, the incredible capsule collection released in Nintendo's Japanese stores last year, and the general excitement about the series in the air. But I'm curious how the 4 is going to impact, and 4 in quotes, like literally the title 4, is going to impact how new fans perceive it. This will doubtlessly become the best-selling entry in the series, Switch effect, yada yada, but I wonder if, given the seemingly disconnected setting, new camera/gameplay ideas, and familiar narrative framing, Alamar fumbles yet again, parentheses, dropping the number and ostensibly making this a soft reboot would have been the way to go. I know Dread sold exceptionally well for Metroid and was blatantly marketed as Metroid 5, Prime's retaining its 4 as well. We'll see about that. But part of me still sees the number as potentially alienating to new fans, but Pikmin 3 Deluxe is the current bestseller, so what do I know? Just seemed like a good moment to reboot and begin a new chapter with Pikmin, subtitle idea. Thoughts? Keep fucking that chicken.
I think wanted one of us to say that exact phrase.
I'm fine with
on this podcast.
I respect it.
So basically, okay, so we have some Pikmin to talk about, but there's this larger concept of does having a number on the end of a game signify that new players are kind of more hesitant to jump into the series?
Well, I think we see a lot of this in the industry. Even we were talking about this earlier with Mortal Kombat 1. That is a specific choice. Is it a stupid choice? Maybe. But I would imagine they have the data. I mean, we talked about this when Mortal Kombat 1 was leaked. Like Battlefield 1. They must have data that suggests that.
Well, that was for a different reason.
Sure, but it was still titled Battlefield 1.
Yeah.
And putting that in the title, I think, lets people know, like, okay, this is some sort of soft reboot / thing. We saw this with Resident Evil 7. That game is just called Resident Evil Biohazard, but then it's like the Roman numerals.
No, that one is Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. What you're thinking of is Resident Evil Village. Technically has VIII in the thing, and it's officially called Resident Evil Village. There's no Resident Evil 8.
Okay, sure.
Resident
Evil
7 is Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
You're sure? Yeah, right. I'm looking at the thing on my shelf. You're right. Or even like Yakuza Like a Dragon a couple years ago. That once again, soft genre reboot, but it is Yakuza 7.
Now, here's the thing: is you're right that it happens occasionally, but I don't think it's consistent enough of an element of releasing games and long-standing franchises to where it's clear that this helps significantly, because Mortal Kombat 1 is coming hot off the heels of Mortal Kombat X and 11, which are very clearly late-stage entries in the series that are the highest-selling entries in these franchises. And also, as you said, with 3 Deluxe, it's also true. But I think that it's just people are, I think, connected enough to video games that people know that you can just kind of play things. Final Fantasy. Every Final Fantasy game has wildly different how popular it is, how much sales it has. People know that the number doesn't necessarily mean that you have to play everything leading up to it. So I don't think that it's a problem at all. And I think there's enough examples in long-standing franchises with numbers. Resident Evil being a perfect example. Resident Evil 4 is the most popular game in that series. And it's 4. It's got a 4 in it. They didn't give it Resident Evil fucking got our ass finally out of Raccoon City. That's not what it's called. So I don't think that there's any real data to back up the fact that taking out the number means that it's going to be appealing to new players.
Yeah. You're right. There's not enough data. I think it could go either way, though, actually, now that I think about it. I think in a certain way, maybe having a 4 on there actually helps.
Sure.
It's kind of like, Xenoblade X versus Xenoblade 2. You know this is X is a big game. It was the main project they worked on, but 2 is the next one that matters. Yeah. Sorry, X. Same thing with coming out this year, Armored Core 6. I think that's very interesting. That game is getting just called 6 because, like you said, I think people are more in tune now than they ever have been, especially with these more niche franchises. Pikmin having a subtitle, like Abram suggested, I think would almost lead people to believe that, maybe this isn't like a mainline game or something along those lines.
I agree. No, I think there absolutely is that perception, especially with franchises with numbers in their names. As soon as there's not a number, you're like, what? Why?
Far Cry is a great example. They do like their main numbered franchise games, but then they have Primal and New Dawn, which are obviously spin-offs or like lesser titles.
And Final Fantasy does that all the time. But it's really the only ones with numbers in the name, even 7 Remake / Rebirth, that has a number in the name, that people know that that's a big deal. I think this, if this was Pikmin A New Beginning or whatever, people would be like, huh? Is this 4? Is this, like, what's changing?
Yeah. So I think for Pikmin 4, if anything, maybe would help it a little bit. I agree. It will be the best-selling Pikmin game. I'd be flabbergasted if it's not. That's rough if it's not. But to Abram's point about Prime retaining its 4 in the title as well, we haven't heard about that game since 2019. I would not be surprised if that game does not have a 4 in the title.
It depends. Have consistently referred to it as the next game in the Metroid Prime franchise ever since that first reveal. Yeah. I believe that's the only time they've referred to it as Metroid Prime 4.
Especially now that I think about it, and once again, it could go, we could use the argument that people are more in tune than ever. Mm-hmm. I think releasing Metroid Prime Remastered and then theoretically within 12 months releasing Metroid Prime 4, that's a weird move. Because then you're like, if Metroid Prime Remastered was your first one, then you're like, well, shit.
What do I do?
And maybe the story won't be as, maybe it'll be like a soft reboot or something. I don't know. But,
I think it definitely will.
Sure. But I mean, I know there was a lot of like build up at the end of 3 with the phase-on stuff. But
I don't know. So actually, from that angle,
yeah, I do think there is like some plot, like even infamously Federation Force teased something, I believe.
Oh really?
At the end of it, yeah. So I don't know if they would be able to do some sort of reboot with that, but I wouldn't be shocked if Metroid Prime 4 is not called Metroid Prime 4. I think at the very least it'd be Metroid Prime 4 subtitle, but I think it might just be Metroid Prime subtitle. Sure. Outside of a number, but we'll see. Because especially if they do then go back and do Metroid Prime 2 and 3, it would make it even more complicated. But Pikmin 4 still coming out July 21st. I'm very excited. This is, after, like you said, after Final Fantasy 16, the next big game for us. Of course, not counting the megaton that is everybody want to Switch.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Pikmin 4 looks great. I'm really excited to see more. We didn't even see gameplay in that fucking trailer. They didn't even show gameplay.
There's one element that I think you commented on, is that this game won't have the same kind of new cast of characters like the other ones have. But I don't necessarily think that's true. I think it's just your character that you play as.
Oh, sure. There are the other ones. You're right.
4 or 5 other people that are on your crew that I believe even in the trailer that we saw at the last Direct had names. They were talking to you.
Okay.
So I think they will be characters. You just won't be, which I think is, a pro and a con. I am not the biggest fan of blank slate characters. That's sort of like, a player insert characters.
It probably doesn't matter if it's Pikmin, though.
No,
that's not some crazy story going on. Yeah, they're not going to really communicate
that much. But I think it's cool for Pikmin to have this as a sort of new element and be able to sort of expand what we know. Are these characters from Hoctate as well?
Hoctate,
I mean, I guess they must be if they're like going to go after.
I don't know.
Are they Copites?
I don't know. I'm not. Abram's gonna listen to this and rail us for messing up the Pikmin lore.
No. I know which characters that we know are from Hocate and Copi, but these new characters I don't know which planet they're from. However, what I'm saying is with the character creator, we now have a whole like breadth of people that we can like represent in this style. It's like, okay, it's not only we've seen like 5 of them ever. We've seen we'll now have seen like infinite combinations of them, and also there's different skin colors, which is very cool because every character in Pikmin has been a fucking pasty, weird yellow white sort of color. So,
it's kind of funny though. I like them being like weird little pasty fucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pikmin 4 looks great, and I'm excited to see more. And I'm excited to see how it does and does financially.
Yeah.
Now, we do have one more thing before we get to our Summer Games Fest recap. Of course, I only talked about the Nintendo stuff because that was not very much. This broke while Summer Games Fest was happening. Once again, maybe we should consider moving our recording to Fridays because this is huge news.
Yeah.
What's the name here? Disgusting. Jeff Snyder. Sorry. Jeff Snyder is reporting that Nintendo and Universal are getting close to closing a big deal for a Legend of Zelda movie. And here is his quote here on a podcast he was on. I'm told that Universal is, in fact, closing a big deal with the Nintendo Corporation for The Legend of Zelda, Snyder said on the latest episode of the Hot Mic podcast. Zelda is looking like the next big Illumination Nintendo franchise, which we were all sort of expecting. I'm told that is happening. So you are more in tune with movies. Are you familiar with Jeff Snyder? Is he reliable? Yes. He is reliable.
I don't like him, but I think he's reliable. I think he's an annoying dickbag, but I'm sure I know he has connections. I also heard Discussing Film had a similar tweet where I think they quoted John Roca, who I like and I also trust. But I know both these names. These are not like
so 2 people are reporting this. Then if you're correct,
the first time I saw this tweet, it was linked to a YouTube video from John Roca. His YouTube channel. If you're now reading that it's also from Jeff Snyder, maybe it is 2 people, or maybe one of them was quoting from the other.
Sure.
But regardless, 2 big names talking about this, and also it makes sense. I mean, we've actually talked about the idea of other Nintendo IP and Zelda being maybe next. It seems like that's probably the case.
I would argue this does not make sense.
Okay.
Zelda becoming a movie that makes sense, and I would still maybe expect like a Donkey Kong movie or a Mario movie too. Before that,
absolutely, yes.
However, what does not make sense to me, Tucker, is Illumination doing this movie.
Sure.
Illumination does not make sense to do Zelda. Zelda is a serious story, unless they are doing like a Wind Waker style Zelda movie. But Zelda is not funny.
More sense.
Zelda is not a funny franchise. Mario is inherently goofy because he's just hey, I'm a Brooklyn plumber. Zelda's not that.
Yeah.
Zelda can't have a quirky scene where they're trapping a dog in a shower.
Yeah.
They can't have that.
Yeah.
So even just looking at Illumination's lineup, none of their movies are like these epic adventures. I really question the direction they would take with this.
About Migration.
That hasn't come out yet. Yeah.
I know,
that is a big adventure movie. I mean, hey, you're right. That's the beta. They're practicing.
Exactly. But I do think that the idea of finding some sort of aesthetic middle ground that sort of reinvents Zelda in like a cartoony way, I think with a, I think it can have a tinge of humor. I think that Zelda does have this lighthearted edge to it. I think we see it as something very serious, but most of the characters that aren't Ganondorf and Link are goofy as fuck. I mean, you think about Tingle and Impa and like all these characters, like Skull Kid. These are goofy fucking characters. All the NPCs are just like running around talking weird shit and like I don't know. I think it actually does make maybe more sense than you're letting on, but I think also maybe this is a testing ground for Illumination can change a little bit towards more serious stuff. I don't think they'll. I think Nintendo won't let this be a minionified
Sure.
Zelda.
Yeah, I think Nintendo's going to be keeping a close eye on this. That's another thing I wonder, would Miyamoto helm this with them and like kind of, but he was an executive producer, right?
Yeah.
On Mario movie, and obviously he worked hands-on with it. So I do wonder how much involvement maybe Aonuma would get involved with. I mean, sure. we talked about it on the podcast a couple weeks ago. Fujibayashi and Aonuma said they were interested in doing a Zelda movie.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if maybe Aonuma would get involved. Yeah, I mean, I would say this is all but real, in my opinion. Yeah. I do think this is real. So I'll just be very curious to see how they handle it, when we'll get the announcement. I was excited at the beginning of May because I knew that their investor meeting was happening. I always get it a little mixed up. They do their financial report, and then they do a Q&A later. We're actually getting that Q&A, like the investors asking, for a couple of questions. We're getting that later this month. So
ooh, okay.
That's the hype. That's the hype part. I always get that mixed up. Obviously sales numbers are exciting too, but that Q&A is especially going to be interesting this year, and which we'll get into with our direct predictions. They only have 2 games announced right now. Yeah. So maybe we'll hear about the movie there. Maybe we'll get some sort of deal announced there or something, but it does seem like things are going to be moving. I think by the end of this year, this will be official at the very least.
I think so.
I think Nintendo's going to try to take their time as much as they can, but we know that Chris Meledandri is on the board of directors at Nintendo. Of course, the CEO of Illumination, right? So I think this is going to move faster than you would typically expect Nintendo to move into a new venture. I think, I think we're going to see a lot of stuff over the next 5 years get announced and released. Some of it will be canceled, that kind of thing. It's exciting, scary. We saw that Twisted Metal trailer during Summer Games Fest. I'm terrified. I didn't know Will Arnett was doing the voice of Sweet Tooth.
That's bizarre.
Very weird. But it's exciting either way.
The still of Sweet Tooth, just absolutely holding dominating him. Anthony Mackie's like, what? It's so strange. God.
We will be watching.
I think the worst thing that I can imagine is a live action Nintendo movie. I think that keeping them animated is very important. I honestly don't even think that a live action. I don't think I'd prefer a live action Zelda or Metroid.
People always say live action Metroid, and I've honestly probably said that on this podcast, but you're right. I think an animated 2D animation Metroid would be sick.
Ooh,
I mean, it could be 3D animated. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It seems like it's gonna be Illumination though.
And
unify actual Metroids, like the little.
Sure. Little they have goofy little laughs.
Yeah.
The Metroids go
they make 3 dots into 2 ones that are eyes and the bottom one's a mouth.
Please no. Yeah, I think actually, now that before we move on, I think the most interesting prospect of this is the idea that maybe Nintendo won't move on from Illumination. Maybe Illumination is just the Nintendo movie studio.
Yeah.
Which would obviously mean they can't build this movie empire as fast as maybe I was saying.
Sure, that's a good point. Yeah.
If they are going to stick with Illumination, but of course we did see. I think last year Nintendo acquired a studio and then renamed it to Nintendo Animation Arts or something. It was something like that. You know what I'm talking about?
Wasn't that the animation studio that made the Pikmin shorts?
I believe so, but they acquired them and renamed them to Nintendo.
Yeah,
Visual
but that's just
something.
For doing cutscenes, I believe.
Maybe Pikmin short. I mean. Cutscenes for games? Pikmin shorts aren't. Yeah. I think. I mean, Nintendo's definitely expanding in weird and exciting ways.
Yeah.
All right, Tucker. Let's get into our Summer Game Fest recap. There were only a couple things related to Nintendo at this showcase, but there were actually some surprising announcements. 2, I would say, are really surprising, and they are coming to Switch. So we'll go through them in order as they happened. I believe I got everything that was Switch relevant listed here. Yeah. So the thing that opened the show was a new Ubisoft game.
Yeah.
Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, releasing on January 24th. This is a I think Abram said Mercury Steam Core.
Yeah, he did
Prince of Persia game. This is a 2D, seemingly Metroidvania style Prince of Persia game. I'm not familiar with Prince of Persia. I don't love Ubisoft anymore. But this actually looked pretty good.
It did.
Apparently, people have already played it. I saw the completionist tweeted out that he had played it already. So maybe there are more previews out there. But from what I saw, I have to say I was pretty impressed. I do think it's very interesting coming out January 24th when there's the whole debacle with the remake getting quietly canceled and restarted and this whole thing. But Prince of Persia coming back from Ubisoft, I like seeing Ubisoft do more stuff like this because they have been so creatively bankrupt.
Yeah, set in their ways, definitely.
Yeah. So seeing this is really cool. Are you going to check this out at all?
Well, I think it's the kind of thing where if it gets really good reviews, I'll consider giving it a look.
I do wonder if this is a full price joint. I would imagine so.
Maybe. Yeah. I think if it is, that's a good sign towards people being interested in, or at least companies putting 2D games up as, hey, this is just as valuable as other ones.
Well, we'll talk about another one.
2021 with Metroid Dread. People be like, oh, this is a 2D game. Why are you charging the same price?
I made videos about that, yeah.
If Ubisoft does the same thing, I think that's a great sign. But I think this is really cool, actually. I mean, when was the last 2D Ubisoft game out? Rayman Legends? Like
Valiant Hearts.
They don't do these kind of things very often. And also, it being a Prince of Persia game is already in a franchise that's like kind of in question, but kind of reinventing it through this gameplay style, which has never been in before. I think all of that is just, that's really cool. It looks good. It sounds exciting. Ubisoft doing something different. Just like kind of an all-around win. Just like a big surprise. I didn't hear anything about this. Apparently very well kept secret considering.
Yeah, completionist played it and it didn't leak. And that's for Ubisoft?
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
Yeah.
So I imagine maybe it is a smaller project then. Maybe it is like a smaller team within like one of the Ubisoft
but hey, that's very cool.
Houses. But that's it's great.
The idea of these big teams doing more small experimental projects, I think brings a little bit of energy. What are you holding?
I've realized how angry this makes me. I'm not even a Rayman fan. But come on, you could have made a Rayman game.
I'm a Rayman.
Now,
Origins Legends was phenomenal.
It sucks because like if this does well, that will be the tell for Ubisoft that they should make more games like this.
Yeah.
So now the fate of Rayman is basically sitting on Prince of Persia's shoulders. in a weird roundabout way.
So well, am I making that up?
That was 10 years ago, man.
It was. I know it was.
I don't think that matters anymore. I don't think the sales numbers for that game. Child of Light did well, and they killed all those UbiArt games. So.
Oh Jesus. Okay, Rayman Legends sold almost 5 million copies.
Clearly, it wasn't enough.
That's bizarre.
To be fair, was it Michel Ancel?
Michel Ancel, yes.
Michel Ancel. He left Ubisoft.
Like
he
pervert or something. I believe like controversy.
So. Probably. Beyond Good and Evil 2 never coming out because of that.
Yeah. Oof.
The next game, showed immediately following Prince of Persia's announcement, was a really nice gameplay trailer for Mortal Kombat 1, which we were talking about earlier. This game, okay, listen, so I mentioned a few weeks ago I was playing Mortal Kombat 11 on PS4 or PS5. I played a little bit of it. I didn't play too much of it. Just from my maybe 30 minutes I played of that versus watching this, the speed of Mortal Kombat has greatly increased, and that makes me exciting. This game looks really fast-paced.
I think maybe I misunderstood you when we were reacting. I thought you were asking for it to be faster. Or you seem
I'm excited that it looks like a fast-paced Mortal Kombat game.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you're a pro Mortal Kombat, this is all casual perspective. If you're a pro Mortal Kombat player, I'm sure it's all crazy. But as just like a casual, this game looked very accessible and very fast-paced and very kinetic and very fun to just get into. So this was a great showing for gameplay. We all three of us were very impressed with the stages.
Yeah.
And visual but mostly the stages, they all look really cool. This game looks fantastic. Of course, I will not be playing it on Switch, but it is coming to Switch, so it is relevant here.
It is. Yeah. No, I'm excited for this as well. I think that Street Fighter 6 and the sort of mini fighting game renaissance that we're seeing ourselves in, Tekken 8 coming out soon, Project L, and Mortal Kombat 1 makes me really excited to sort of involve myself in this momentum now that I have sort of my mind based around fighting games. Like, okay, combos make a little more sense to me now, like gauging, spacing, and stuff that I could never do in 2D fighting games before this, or traditional fighting games. My question is, what kind of features like Street Fighter 6 will this have? I don't think there's any word so far of a modern control style.
I don't think there
will
be one.
Street Fighter 6 is really the pioneer of that, so we'll see if that even gets picked up by other games. Because the complexity is part of the charm, but I think Street Fighter 6 has proven that there is ways to make it more accessible. But also in terms of other game modes, and I mean, Street Fighter 6 is obviously for you and me our real experience, but it's also kind of the bar now of, yeah, we want our fighting games to be this feature rich and accessible and malleable to your player level experience, and having a diversity of modes. Mortal Kombat 1 might not have that, which might feel lacking in comparison to Street Fighter 6, but also it might also not be a problem because Mortal Kombat sells phenomenally well, and 11 was like one of the most critically acclaimed games.
This game will do better than Street Fighter easily.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I mean, I think it's, maybe this is unfair to Street Fighter. I think it's different expectations. I think Mortal Kombat's world and characters are much more, they're much cooler than Street Fighter. So for me, if they can tell me a compelling 10-hour linear story through Mortal Kombat,
how long was the campaign in 11?
Probably not that. It's probably like 5 hours. I'm not sure exactly. But maybe not 10 hours. But if they can just tell me a compelling like story mode, I'm fine with that. Maybe not even to the point where I'll be getting into online with this game. If they can just give me a good story mode, I'm fine with that. And of course, the crypt is always a big thing with these games. This is 15, 20 years ago, but Mortal Kombat Deception had a really cool crypt, fun little quirky modes. I don't know if they do those anymore. I remember I think it was Armageddon had like combat cart or something. They just straight up added a Mortal Kombat. So stuff like the chess, Mortal Kombat chess. I don't know if they do stuff like that anymore, but some sort of crypt will be there as your like side content. I think it's different expectations. And like I said, this game will certainly do better than Street Fighter anyway. So.
Yeah, I think I'm just talking from like a subjective level. If I will feel that it's lacking or that it's not as inviting or interesting, engaging to me on like as a newbie to this. And frankly, I don't have the drive or interest to get very invested in being very good and very focused on just the 2D fighting, getting good aspect of a fighting game. And so that's why I've been so pleased with Street Fighter 6. I think even if Street Fighter 6's mechanics and visuals were as good as they are, but there wasn't Battle Hub and World Tour, I would probably not be as interested in the game as I am.
That's interesting. We're enjoying it for almost kind of different reasons in a way, because I've been really just enjoying ranked. That's like my main thing. Whereas with Mortal Kombat, I already don't feel like I'll get that invested in online. I'm more excited to play through the story and just see like the fatalities and stuff.
But here's the thing. I'm gonna try this game, and I'm excited regardless because NetherRealm is the king of story mode fighting games. Capcom tried to do a mini version with I think it's called a Shadow Falls, the Street Fighter 5 story mode, which sucks.
Well, do you know the story behind that, like the release history? Street Fighter 5 did not release with a story mode.
I know. Yeah. I know.
It came out like 4 months after. They clearly rushed it just to like shut people up.
But so they were trying to ape what NetherRealm does, and what they did so well in. What games did NetherRealm start doing these kind of high production value story modes in?
They've always had really good story. Mortal Kombat Deception, the one I played on PS2, that game had a crazy like open world story mode.
Really? Okay. So actually, I'm not very experienced with it, but from what I've heard of their modern ones, people really praise the Injustice 2 and Mortal Kombat 11 story modes, and so I'm sure this will be no slouch either. So from that point of view, I'm in. Like, you give me a 6-hour adventure with these characters, and that's worth the price of admission for me. Period. And then I get to play the game with my friends. So maybe it's not a problem, but it's just a question mark. It's a thing in the back of my head. I'm like,
There's a lot for them yet to reveal.
Maybe I'll want modern controls.
Yeah, that'll probably be the main barrier for me.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why I'm already like subconsciously like reserving myself to just playing the story, because I probably won't get that good at it if I do have to remember combos and stuff. Either way, the game looks fantastic. I wasn't expecting to be so excited for Mortal Kombat in 2023, but here I am. Nicolas Cage came out on stage, Tucker.
He did.
To promote Dead by Daylight. Yeah, cool. He talked for a while about like the meaning of Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
And like how what's the Ring girl's name or the Grudge girl's name? He like
Sadako.
referenced he referenced Sadako for some reason. He's like, this game's crazy, dude. He needs the money. He needs the money.
He does. So funny.
Oh, God. I'm gonna skip it around a little bit here and save the big one for last. We saw Fae Farm. This is a new farming game coming to Switch later this year, I believe. And then another game that was not announced for Switch. In fact, we know is not coming to Switch. However, I'd be remiss not to mention it as a Dragon Ball fan. Because I do think this game will come to Switch later on, or maybe in the next console. A Sandland game was announced. For those that don't know,
Bizarre.
Akira Toriyama, creator of Dragon Ball, after he did Dragon Ball, he did a short manga in Shonen Jump called Sandland.
Yep.
And it's just a really cool, like, almost like Mad Max like vibe, like just sand desert, like outlaws kind of thing going for it. There is a movie releasing in August in Japan, but there's also this game coming now from Bandai Namco, only coming to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. But Bandai Namco always does this with their anime games. I fucking hate it. I think it's kind of disrespectful to Nintendo fans, because these games always sell best on Switch, always, without a doubt.
What are the other examples of this coming later?
Demon Slayer.
Okay.
Fighters, Dragon Ball Fighters.
Ah, that's right. Yeah.
That was a big one. Kakarot. Yeah. So it's pretty consistent, like with like the big name anime IP. In the case of Demon Slayer specifically, I believe the statistic was like that game sold 10 times better on Switch than every other platform. It came out 8 months after the PS5 release. That is absurd.
Yeah.
That is absurd. Now, we are getting Storm Connections later this year on Switch and PS5 and everything at once, although that's not really like a whole new game. Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm Connections.
You just said Storm Connections. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking?
Storm Connections.
I never heard of that anime.
Yeah. So new Naruto game coming out later this fall. Which I realized, I was thinking about that game the other day. We did like our most anticipated games. That is definitely on my list. I'm very excited for that. First Storm games is 2016, Tucker.
Wow.
Very excited. It's a long time for me. They used to release them like every other year. So granted, Naruto ended, so maybe there's a reason they haven't been releasing games. But yeah, Sandland, I would imagine will probably come to Switch in 2020. We didn't get a date for it on PS4. If this is a 2024 game, expected in 2025 on Switch for some reason. Thank you, Bandai Namco. Tucker, the final game announced on the Summer Games Fest. I don't think anybody expected this so soon. I don't think anybody expected it to be in this format. I don't think anybody expected it, after seeing it, for it to be a full price $60 game. We got a new 2D Sonic game announced, baby. Sonic Superstars, not from Christian Whitehead and the team that did Sonic Mania, right? It is a new team, it is Sonic Team, right? I believe. I'm not sure if that's exactly confirmed.
I'm sure it is. Probably.
As someone who is not a Sonic fan, but has played a decent amount of Sonic games, I actually was surprised by how into this I was. Yeah. I like the art style. I think you said it maybe looks a little cheap, but I like the art style. Obviously, I know.
It's a line. I'll talk about it.
Sure. I know Sonic Mania is like a fan favorite and all that. But I really like this new art style. I think it's important to try to adapt and make it more modernized, kind of like Mega Man 11 did. And just the different gameplay styles in this game. Obviously, you have your typical 2D Sonic stuff, but there are like these 3D sections, and like mini game type things that you would see like in like the what do they call them? Like the ring portals. You go in the ring, and then it's like a weird,
the bonus levels or whatever.
Yeah, the bonus levels. I assume that's probably what that was. But
the half pipe in Sonic 2.
Yeah, I thought this game looked pretty cool. Definitely surprised by the $60 price tag, but maybe that just means it is a fully featured release. You mentioned off podcast that apparently the focus for this game is co-op, which I don't think has ever really been the case for a Sonic game. I think Sonic Mania Plus added co-op, but that seems like a pretty big deal, a different tone, especially because of the speed of Sonic. But I'm into this.
No, I absolutely am as well. I think this is the biggest thing of the showcase for me.
Absolutely.
Last year I spent almost the entire summer focusing on Sonic because up to that point, I had only played Mania, and I played Mania in 2017. I got it on my Switch, and I was like, hey, this is a pretty fun game. The pixel art's fantastic. I like the music. God, the music and the music in Mania goes so crazy. But I wasn't experienced in the large breadth of this series, and so last year I played all the classic games, a smattering through either the Genesis collection, or then I played 3 and Knuckles on Origins. Then I played Frontiers when they came out last year, which I adore. I love Frontiers. So I have found little bits and pieces of Sonic that really appeal to me, and it is mostly that modern stuff of Forces sucks. Forces is fucking terrible. It's actually the worst one I've played. But Mania and Frontiers are vastly different, but I think both fantastic in their own right. And this seems to be kind of taking Sonic, 2D Sonic, which we don't see too much of, a step forward. And I think that's very exciting. It's surprising that it's taken this long to see a truly co-op. Like, focus on even more than just having Tails, like, floating behind you, or someone controlling Tails on the same screen. Like, Amy, Tails, Knuckles, and Sonic all playing together is a big step for the Sonic franchise. This is This is the new Super Mario Bros. Wii for 2D Sonic. But New Super Mario Bros. Wii came out 15 years ago. I just think it's very exciting all around. I am like 70% sold in the art style. I feel like for me it's going to work better in action, but watching that trailer, seeing it transition from 2D pixel art to 3D, I'm like, I think this just looks a little bit worse.
I thought it was going to be like a Sonic Generations type game when they first showed it. It was kind of a weird, it was kind of weird how they revealed that.
But the lighting engine, I think there's a little bit too much bloom, and it's a little bit like shiny and plasticky. I compare it to Sonic Episode 4 or Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 1 and 2.
Out of line.
Which is like, I think it's closer to that than people are saying. Which is, by the way, people, I just mean you and Abram. But it's not that bad. It's not that bad. By the way, games I haven't actually played, so I have really no comment on Sonic 4. But this is awesome. I mean, this is now, I'll be there day one. I just think it's fascinating because we don't get that many Sonic games anymore. Frontiers was the first one since 2017.
Yeah, and now we're getting them back to back.
Yeah.
Also worth noting, really this is the first 2D Sonic game from Sonic Team since Generations.
Yeah,
which is really interesting.
That was what, 2011?
2010 or 2011.
Wow.
Yeah, 2011 because it was on 3DS.
Yeah.
I guess.
Jeez.
No, Sonic Lost World on 3DS even was 3D. So yeah, it's been a decade and some change there. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. It's kind of what we've been talking about, like, oh, this June summer announcement season would fill in the holiday. This is coming out this fall.
Yep.
So this is when I'll wait for Black Friday, because it will go half price like immediately. But yes, I will probably be checking this out. I also want to get back to Mania. I never finished Mania.
Frontiers dropped it like $20.
No, dude, after. Caleb bought it full price, and then yeah, it was like 2 days. It was like actually 2 days. I remember, like, I could not believe it how fast that game dropped.
Same with Gotham Knights. That's another game that dropped fucking pitfalled in price.
Yeah. Now, Tucker, I just want to while you were talking about Sonic Superstars, I was making sure 6:02 p.m. no Nintendo tweet. We're safe. We're safe this week, baby.
Okay, I see.
I was like, all right, let's see what it is this week. God, I love predicting Nintendo marketing. Which, Tucker, greatest segue of all time. That's what we're gonna do right now.
Let's go.
We're gonna forego a traditional listener questions segment this week in favor of this because we had a lot of write-ins of people's desires and predictions for the Nintendo Switch this year. But of course, keep in mind, join our Discord. You can write in there, talk with us, as well as on the community post that I make every week. So do all that, and we will read your questions. But this week, we're going to focus on our summer Nintendo predictions. I'm very excited to get into this with you in depth, because we've talked about it a little bit in passing. But I think that Everybody Want to Switch being announced, and then that new Pikmin trailer dropping has really recontextualized a lot of things. In fact, we also had a rumor from Jeff Grubb, who's, I would say, 80-20 accurate.
Yeah,
he's pretty accurate. He said it's gonna. He's been hearing rumblings of July. He didn't say definitively oh yeah, it's gonna be in July. He's been hearing rumblings of July. Yeah. So there's a lot we can discuss here. I think before we talk about any game specifically, we need to talk about how Nintendo is going to handle this entire ordeal. Will it be tweet announcements like we saw with Everybody Want to Switch? Will there be a direct this month or in July? Will it be until September? Will it be a partner showcase? Basically, I want to line out pretty much the rest of 2023 with you right now. Great. Because we can't do an E3 predictions episode because that's not how Nintendo operates anymore. No. So starting off with just the format, I'm very flaky on this. My thoughts change pretty daily, I would say at this point, being so involved in the community and see what people are saying. But I'm going to go with my gut here. I think we are not going to get a Direct until September. A full Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
I do, but here's the caveat there. Nintendo is going to be at Gamescom.
Yeah.
They're not going to show nothing. It's in late August.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Which is before September, which is when they do that Direct. So it's very interesting. But there's also Nintendo Live in Seattle, which I think is more like a fan fest event. Maybe they don't need to have new games there. Yeah. But Gamescom, you would assume they would have something new to show. So I really don't know what to believe, but here's what I'm going to say. I think this is my scenario. I think we will not get a general Direct announcing a bunch of first-party games until September. Before TGS, that's when we always get a TGS Direct, always, without fail. We even if we get one in June, we will get one in September, no matter what. That's kind of how I feel about it. But before that, because they need to announce some stuff and it's too quiet right now, after we have Everybody Want to Switch, but then we also have Pikmin 4, and Everybody Want to Switch being June 30th makes it even weirder because that means they must have a lot of stuff for the summer. Otherwise, why would they not save that for like September, October, right?
Yeah, I mean fall.
Fall, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I think what will happen is, I think at the end of June, towards the end of June, maybe even early July, like Grubb is hearing, we will get a partner showcase. Last year we got a partner showcase that, and you know, this branding has a pretty bad stigma attached to it. People thinking it's low quality. Last year's partner showcase was pretty good.
It was. I think that was the best one they ever done.
Oh, easily. They announced the Persona ports. They announced. I don't even know what else, but I remember thinking it was good.
World Repack was there. And more information on Sparks of Hope, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
So I think a partner showcase.
Was there.
Sure, that was a surprise announcement. Yeah. So I think a partner showcase like that is likely. We talked about Persona 3 Remake and Persona 5 Tactica. Those would be announced there if they are coming to Switch. But more importantly, and this is why Nintendo was not publishing these games, but this is why I think a partner showcase is more likely right now than a traditional Direct. Level 5. Level 5 is a huge supporter of the Switch this year. They have 2 major games coming out. One of them is exclusive to Switch, being Deca Police and Fantasy Life I. Both of those games can show in a big way in a partner showcase because we have not seen them since March, when they did that Level 5 Vision event. Of course, Professor Layton is next year. So I think a partner showcase in late June, early July, detailing the Persona ports, more weird third-party stuff, probably some weird Square Enix HD 2D stuff. Maybe Dragon Quest 3 is exclusive to Switch. We haven't heard about that in 2 years.
That's true.
But then also we get Deca Police release date, which is on PS4 to be fair, and then we get Fantasy Life I, which is a big exclusive. And that kind of lay out the roadmap for a lot. Maybe Nintendo will lean on them a little bit, you know, on these games that. And Baten Kaitos is another one that would easily appear in a third-party showcase.
Yeah, but they're not going to lean on that.
It's a biggest. I think I'm surprised Nintendo's not publishing that game. Maybe not lean on it, but market it basically for Bandai Namco. Sure. And then, you know, I think what'll happen there is, because I do think we'd still need a game for September, is we would get some sort of tweet announcement. Now, we can get into what that is in a bit. I think there will be one more Nintendo game announced this summer before September.
Sure.
And we'll get into that, like I said, we'll get into that specifically in a bit. But how do you kind of foresee Nintendo laying out the summer? Also, a Pikmin 4 Direct possible.
Yeah, possible.
Maybe. They don't do it a ton for like single player games. They did it for Xenoblade, but that's a little bit more complex, I feel like, than Pikmin. Yeah. So how do you envision this summer going for Nintendo?
But I think it's interesting about them going to Gamescom is the sentiment that we've echoed on here and that we've heard from Abram as well and other people online is they've got to have something, right? They got to have something new. Why the hell would they go? They haven't gone since 2019. But I think Nintendo is weird enough to not bring much new and just go there and be like, hey, the Switch is kind of like at the peak of its popularity. We have a current Game of the Year contender, you know, have some people dabble with Zelda, even though it's been out for a while, but like Nintendo's fucking weird. I think that having the level 5 games there and stuff, I think they can kind of swing that without announcing a new game. And I think that what's interesting about the Switch right now and why, while you told me like halfway through the Summer Game Fest that we were going to be doing this and you wanted me to make our predictions, I was looking at first-party Switch games and which series have been represented and how long it's been for certain teams. I'm like, okay, what can I piece together that kind of makes sense? Because I'm trying to be like as realistic as possible. And frankly, my expectations are the fucking floor for what the rest of this year is going to be. So I'm easily going to be surprised. I was already surprised enough by Everybody's Want to Switch. But the Switch has such a vast and deep catalog of first-party games that there's not that much that hasn't been done already, and we haven't seen that really happen for many Nintendo consoles. We're kind of reaching a new point where all the major franchises have already been done, and we're kind of reaching the point where
a lot of them have been done twice.
Some of them have, absolutely, yeah. And so you can't really expect too many of those, and the console's sort of reaching the end of its life cycle. So I think what I'm really nailing down is that I want this tailing off of the Switch era to be surprises. The idea that the only game that I think we kind of have floating in the ether other than Metroid Prime is this Donkey Kong game made by the Mario team. which even though it's been heavily rumored / leaked, I don't really know what the state of that game is. That's unique enough. Like, it hasn't been done in a decade at this point to where it's like, oh, hey, okay, that's something new for the Switch. But yeah, I just don't really think that many of the biggest things feel likely for the end of this year. I think they have so many big games on Switch that even without releasing a Pokemon, Zelda, 3D Mario, 2D Mario, Mario Kart, Smash, the end of this year, which they've done basically every year up until this point, well, one of them at least, I think they can kind of just be like, hey, we've got all these fucking games, like just buy them. Like, if you don't have a copy of blank 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 already, yeah, just they're 25% off. Go get them for $45. I just don't know if they need the games at the end of this year. And from what we've heard at the beginning of this year, it seems like it will be light. And I'm kind of coming to terms with that. I think I'm okay with that.
Sure, I mean, I'd be fine with it too, because we've had such a pack.
So let me hold on. Let me cap everything off in a bow.
Are we gonna
agree with you. No direct this summer. I agree with that. I think that a
regular
second
direct
party game, what?
Like a general,
sure, the partner direct I agree with, but no actual direct. So that means no big first party games announced. I think that a second party game that kind of fills that slot, that they're publishing, I think will be what's in September. It's like, okay, September, October, okay, yeah, big deal. I think a September direct with the one big game for the rest of the year. Let's say it's Donkey Kong, and that's late October, November. That's the big announcement, and then everything else is 2024. I think we're just going to be sort of coasting out of this year with one reasonably big game, but not from any of the biggest franchises, and they're publishing a couple things, and then second party game. I think this is going to be a very light sort of coasting to the end of the year.
Interesting. So, yeah, we've heard of reports that Nintendo has no more big games after Zelda. Shut the fuck up. Those words mean nothing.
Yeah.
Wow, they don't have another game bigger than Zelda for the Switch? Crazy. Yeah. No shit.
No other big games, I think, is different in the Switch era because multiple franchises have reached a new level of being bigger than they were before. So maybe there is something that people are thinking is like, okay, this is going to be kind of, middling, but it could be bigger than people are expecting.
Sure. The only thing I contest with the whole light second half of the year, and yeah, maybe you can't predict Nintendo, but the way they have packed their lineup into these first 7 months is unreal. Yeah. Why would you not? Okay, Pikmin 4 being in July, that's fine, but why would you not save Everybody Want to Switch for September? Why would you not save even the Xenoblade DLC or Bayonetta Origins? They packed so much into those first 6 months. It wouldn't really make sense to then have like 2 games for the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. I think there will be at least 4 first-party games that we do not know about this year. Maybe even 5, because they always do. They usually have 2 games in October. Maybe one of those would be like Fantasy Life or something, as they kind of promote that as their own, even though they're not publishing it. But I think in terms of maybe them being like that big AAA Donkey Kong game, maybe it won't be that. Yeah. But just like in terms of having Nintendo publishing on the box and them handling it, I think 4 or 5 more games announced this year.
Okay.
So in terms of the one, like I said, partner showcase later this month or early July, I think is reasonable. And then a Twitter announcement. Now, Nintendo, people like to say they do this all the time. They don't. It's kind of a mixed bag. They don't really announce games on Twitter that much. They do EPD4 games, which is these goofy Everybody Want to Switch, Ring Fit Adventure, Brain Age games. Yep. That's fine. That you can see obvious marketing reasons why they do that. They have in the past announced Paper Mario and Pikmin 3 Deluxe and Hyrule Warriors on Twitter. That was in 2020. It's a little different.
And that's the only examples of them doing.
That's the only examples
for Kirby's Dream Buffet last year,
which is a much smaller game,
but digital exclusive, $20,
right? Yeah, because we didn't get a direct last June, and they did fill out the summer with we got a Xenoblade direct, and we got a Splatoon 3 direct, and then we got a new Bayonetta 3 trailer one day, and the Splatoon OLED was announced, and then Kirby Dream Buffet.
Well, the early direct in that first part of the year filled out that year,
pretty much,
basically to the end, and also they had Pokemon, which we don't have this year, to look back on for. Outside of the Christ, I guess we have the DLC. Fuck.
Right. Well, and then this is actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was about to forget. I do think maybe by the time we record next week, I think a Pokemon Presents is very needed.
That's a great point.
And I am going to double down. We were talking about this. We did videos on it before the podcast of the Pokemon Presents in February. That Pokemon Presents was fucking horrible.
It was terrible.
I refuse to believe there is not a Pokemon spinoff this year. I refuse to believe it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's Detective Pikachu. Maybe it's something else entirely new, Mystery Dungeon. I don't really care, but I think that will be one of your physical, like, big Nintendo published games this year.
Sure.
Because you're right. We do need to see the DLC, which they said is winter and then spring, I believe, or fall and then winter. So probably like December and then March, I would imagine, for the releases of the two Scarlet and Violet waves. Something else I just realized they could totally announce on Twitter is the Splatoon 3 DLC release date. Which we need to see. That could maybe be safe for the Direct and kind of a shadow drops kind of scenario there. But that's something that will probably be there. But yeah, I think Pokemon Presents maybe in, like I said, a couple weeks would make a lot of sense.
Definitely.
Because Nintendo isn't afraid to do, like, it's weird. In the summer, Nintendo usually has like one big pop a week. Maybe it's not a big pop, but like this week was Everybody Want to Switch, and the week before that, which wasn't Nintendo, but Daemon X Machina. There's I feel like there's always one thing that we can talk about. So I think it's possible we get a Pokemon Presents and then Pokemon Presents, and then the following week a partner showcase, and then the following 2 weeks we get a Pikmin 4 Direct, that kind of thing. Because they do get pretty active. So yeah, I'll predict a Pokemon spinoff for this holiday season, probably Mystery Dungeon, I would imagine. But it'd be nice. It'd be nice if it was something entirely new that's not a free to play game. I'm very tired of those.
Yeah, that's really what would grab my goose, because I think the Switch era spinoffs have been terrible. I mean, the only thing of any repute, I guess, Unite and new Pokemon Snap, and as a hardcore gamer, Snap is really the only thing that, I guess that's a
hardcore game, Tucker. That's a hardcore game,
as a
dude.
real, like, oh yeah. But I didn't try Unite.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
But I would love something original. But even if it is a from the ground up new Mystery Dungeon or new entry in an older franchise, older sub series, that would be exciting. That'd be fantastic. But I'd really like to see what the big Nintendo spinoff idea is for Switch. Because if it's Unite, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, we have. I mean, I guess maybe the revitalization of new Pokemon Snap was like the thing for this generation. But now that I'm thinking about it, kind of working it through, and like I said, I might even do a video like next week where my predictions are very different. If they did a Pokemon Presents this month, that would maybe even eliminate the need for them to announce another first party game through a tweet, because that could be a September game, and that will get us to the September Direct. But the initial game I was going to say for a tweet announcement, I don't think they would announce a big new game. I think they would announce a remaster or something. So there are two possibilities here. And I do think one of these is absolutely coming out. The other one, I'm not sure if it's real. So the one that I'm not sure of is F-Zero GX. Jeff Grubb has been reporting that. Yeah. I think that could easily be a tweet announcement. And that could be a September game. And that would fill it out. And then you get to September Direct and you just have, which we'll get to, all the actual announcements. And to be fair, that'll also have an announcement for 2024. The other game, and thinking it through, this probably would be safer a Direct, is Fire Emblem 4 Remake. This is definitely happening. Emily Rogers has reported this. In the files for Engage, Tucker, I can't remember the exact numbers. I believe Fire Emblem Engage is Fire Emblem 19. Three Houses is Fire Emblem 17.
Yeah, that was what
there's a Fire Emblem game that is probably done, sitting in an office somewhere. So I don't
question unless they
don't
count
they don't count those. They don't count those.
Do they? Because the republish of the first one? That was not before Three Houses.
You're right. I don't think so. I don't think, maybe people data mined that and didn't find it or something. I don't think so. Yeah. But either way, it was, since Emily Rogers has been reporting on this Fire Emblem 4 remake for a while, and it seems likely. I think it's reasonable. Maybe that would be early next year. I could see, maybe they don't want to have two Fire Emblems in 1 year. No, so that would be two. But I wouldn't be too shocked. Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll get some sort of smaller game for September, which will lead us into a September Direct. And I guess now we can get into our proper predictions. And maybe these aren't necessarily all games that would come out this year, but games that will be announced and coming out in the next, let's just say 12 months, I guess. Yeah. So we can kind of take these piecemeal, and then we do have some write-ins to get to, like I said.
Yeah, let's lead it with the write-ins. But it's been a while since we've done community.
Sure. So I'll just go in order. Dampar wrote in, I'll never give up hope for the Mother series. I don't care if it's a remake or finally a localization, but I think someday will happen. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do love your energy. I could see that happening eventually. I respect the hustle, Danfar, but I don't think it's I think that dream died a long time ago. I think there was a point. I mean, even back in 2016, Emily Rogers was reporting that Mother 3 was being localized. I believe that. I believe that. But then I don't know what would have happened to make that stop, because the rumor was because they, if you remember, Tucker, they did Earthbound. They did Earthbound Beginnings so weirdly in 2015. There was obvious internal interest in that franchise. Yes, that was already local or translated, but never released in America. So there was obviously at some point interest in that series, but I don't really see that coming back. Although, to your point, Tucker, that could be a series that just hasn't been represented yet. Come back on Switch and just have something new. We have another one here from No Escape Gaming. I'm hoping for back half of the year we'll get a few solid ports. F-Zero, which we already talked about, Kid Icarus Uprising, and Metroid Prime 2/3, to name a few. So F-Zero, once again, has been reported. I'm not sure if I believe it. F-Zero is a weird one to me, but once again, a series that hasn't been represented on Switch that would fill in a gap. Kid Icarus Uprising, I think a lot of people want. I don't know. How do you feel about Kid Icarus Uprising? I feel like, as much as I would love a port of that, I think they'd probably just want to get a new game out, and I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Uprising is too strange. I also think that Sakurai wouldn't want to do that. I mean,
right? And I think that's the key point. I think Sakurai would want to be involved with whatever it is. If it's a port, I think he would want to be involved. And I don't know if that man's making a game right now. I don't think he is.
I hope he's taking a break. I mean, from what was it, 2013 when Iwata was like, no, 2011 when Iwata was
2011, yeah.
Hey, you're making 2 Smash.
He worked on Smash for like 11 years straight,
and then all the way through Sora, man, God, Jesus Christ, that's crazy. But wow, yeah, just think about what the next Sakurai game could be. The first one not Smash outside of.
That's exciting.
Uprising in basically my whole life.
Meteos 2.
Holy shit, Meteos is fucking good. What was the question?
They were just saying that they would like to see F-Zero, Kid Icarus Uprising, and then Metroid Prime 2 and 3.
Those aren't happening. No fucking chance.
Metroid Prime 2 and 3? Yeah, no.
Because the precedent is set that Metroid Prime games releasing now are remade from the ground up. If you port 2 and 3 and they look worse and play worse than Metroid Prime Remastered,
it's not going to go over well.
It's not going to go over well.
Unless they're released cheap digitally or something.
And I don't think Retro can do that, because it was already a surprise that they were the ones working on Prime Remastered, since they were supposed to be basically restarting Prime 4, which of course they are. That game exists and will come out, but
we'll talk about that next, I guess.
For that in that team. I mean, I'm currently where I'm sitting within I don't know how big a city is, but surprisingly small mile radius. Metroid Prime 4 is being worked on, because I'm in Austin, Texas, and that's where Retro Studios is. I don't think that they have enough people to do remakes of those 2 games already, because we already heard that Prime Remastered was a bigger undertaking than they thought it would be.
Mm-hmm. I think we had heard reporting. So the Metroid Prime situation is very interesting. I would love to get like a Jason Schreier info dump on this or something, some sort of expose. Originally it was going to be a Metroid Prime trilogy. I think that's pretty widely accepted. And then at some point they decided to it was around the time that Retro got put in charge of Metroid Prime 4, they decided to let that new, it's not Retro like we knew. It's a new Retro team at this point. They decided to let them remake Metroid Prime 1 to kind of just get their hands greasy, figure it out. And I think the idea was ideally, I think it was Iron Galaxy was the name being thrown around, to do 2 and 3 in that style, but certainly not this year. I think it'd be a long time before we see those, and I frankly, I don't think they're going to happen, but Metroid is an interesting name to bring up, because that is one of the only other Nintendo published games we know is coming.
Yeah.
Do you think we see Metroid?
One.
I think, let me rephrase that. I think we absolutely see Metroid Prime 4 this year. Will it release?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. We will definitely, no matter what, June Direct, September Direct, it doesn't matter. We are seeing that game this year. There's literally no fucking way we don't. But whether or not it actually releases, I could see it. Maybe releasing 2 Metroid Prime games in 1 year is a little weird. Maybe it'd be like a February or March bop. But I think we'll see it at the very least.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if we don't see that game this year, that really puts into question, like if it's either coming out at all or if it's been pushed to the next system, because I mean, the window is coming to a close for games to be announced and released at like a reasonable pace.
I think you still have another 18 months.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I guess we could see it early next year for quote unquote the first time,
and then releasing like.
But I don't know. I'm really hesitant to think that. I mean, I just feel like that it's such a like.
I'm scared of it.
Game.
I'm scared to predict it.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've been predicting it since it was fucking out.
7 years almost. Yeah.
It doesn't feel right. There will come a time when it showed off. But
to be honest, I'm kind of surprised. This is a very Nintendo thing to do, is like show it also next to Prime Remastered. I'm kind of maybe they didn't want to like overshadow Prime Remastered, but I don't know. I feel like that could have been a back to back. Like they did that with Bayonetta 2 and 3, coming to Switch back in. I mean, that was half a decade ago now, but I do think we'll see Metroid Prime this year in whatever direct we get. Read some more write-ins here. Igno Chomp asked, "I want to see Fossil Fighters get a new entry. This is a fun pool. I don't know who developed that game. Nintendo did publish it, but that'd be nice.
I'll do the research.
Sure. And then final write-in about this, and then we'll get back to our predictions, is from Zavi. I really want to see a new Punch-Out game. And you know what? I don't think that's going to happen this year, but I do think that'll happen. That will happen. I don't know if it'd be next level that makes it, probably. Maybe after they do Luigi's Mansion 4. Tucker's making some insane faces. Who created Fossil Fighters?
Nintendo SPD?
Oh, they do Mario vs. Donkey Kong, correct?
WarioWare, Tomodachi Life, Game & Wario. Well, they don't exist anymore because I believe they were mixed with one of the other teams to make, I think, the current EPD or something like that. But yeah, bizarre.
I don't know if they would want to. I don't.
Nintendo EPD alongside Red Entertainment, M2, and ArtDink.
ArtDink, okay, good pull. Yeah, I don't know about Fossil Fighters. I don't know what kind of pull that series had. I mean, it was popular on DS and 3DS, and Nintendo's weird, dude. They're fucking weird. They might do some weird. Oh, here's Fossil Fighters.
I have a cartridge for Fossil Fighters on DS. I've never tried it though.
People like them, but Tucker, you did say a name of a game that I do think is absolutely, without a doubt, 100% coming out this year.
Okay.
Tomodachi Life.
Oh, interesting.
That is. I don't use TikTok. However, I'm exposed to a little bit of it.
Yeah.
The Animal Crossing fandom, the Animal Crossing girls, the casuals that got a Switch for Animal Crossing, they need this game. Tomodachi Life has one of the weirdest, most rabid fan bases that you don't hear about. People want Tomodachi Life, and we saw Miitopia. What a weird ordering. Obviously, same me maker vibe with these games. Yeah. Miitopia did pretty good on Switch. So I think Tomodachi Life is a no-brainer. Whether that's a port or a new game, I don't know. But I think that's a really good casual game. And maybe that wouldn't come out this year, but be announced for sure. I do think that will come to Switch.
I think a new game would be the move for that.
Hopefully.
Because I think we're reaching the point where getting a remake of... I know, apparently it's popular on TikTok. I would not know. But apparently... not particularly popular, like not a high tier.
One of the best-selling 3DS games.
That's true.
I think it's sold like 5 million copies. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Which for a 3DS game is pretty big. Yeah. Let me verify. You keep talking.
I just think that you need to give it a new flavor because Mii's are also not as big a part of the Switch's identity as they were on last gen consoles. So I think that some sort of Miitopia. Or not Miitopia. What we're talking
7 million.
Jesus Christ! I stand.
Tomodachi Life is absolutely coming to Switch.
That's crazy. Okay, yeah, but I'd really like to see something new. With the new sort of identity of what the Miis can be in the modern day.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of maybe a remaster comes from the fact that Miitopia was remastered by Grezzo. Really, it wasn't even... they remade that game.
They did.
It is the same game, but they actually did a lot of work for it. Yeah. So to waste that new Mii maker they made in-game for Miitopia and not do Tomodachi Life, it just would be such a waste. So I think Tomodachi Life, maybe it comes out next spring, but I think that'll be announced. And so
is the idea that Grezzo would be the ones working this?
I don't know. That's the question. Maybe.
The question mark comes from one thing. They just announced a new IP for mobile.
I think that is a low effort, not full team effort.
Okay, sure.
But also, they don't make new games
since 2021. Then,
right? So I think it'd be time for the show now. Yeah, like you said, they announced a new IP for Apple Arcade. I'd imagine that's a lower budget thing.
Sure.
Maybe Nintendo is trying to outsource less, but they got to be cooking up something. Another studio, I think, has to be cooking up something. And they have released. I think they released. I'm not sure. I know it was announced. They had a smaller game coming out, but Good Feel.
Oh,
it has been It has been over 4 years since they released Yoshi's Crafted World, and like I said, yes, they do have another game, but I think Nintendo letting them go do their own thing is a big mistake. I think they're honestly, they make the best C or B tier Nintendo games. They make really good games.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've been saying for years that I think a Donkey Kong Country game, move on from Kirby, move on from Yoshi, make a Donkey Kong Country game with a crafty art style, whatever you want to do this time.
Sure.
Is a no-brainer. That's how you bring Donkey Kong back. You don't waste the 3D Mario team on that, for the love of God.
Yeah, unless they're making a 3D Donkey Kong game.
Sure, in that case, that's a little iffy, to be honest. But I think a new Good Feel game. Hopefully Donkey Kong. But what do you think?
That'd be fantastic.
Once again, maybe a spring release though, like next year.
Sure. Yeah, because that kind of actually fills the slot of where the little comfy game actually usually goes. Because you think back to Star Allies and the Crafted World, and then
Animal Crossing,
Forgotten Land, and Animal Crossing and Return to Dreamland Deluxe. They put those games there. But man, Good Feel is fantastic. There's praise to the end and back for Woolly World and Kirby's Epic Yarn. I think Crafted World overlooked in that conversation because I adore that game. But they've I think only gotten better. They only learned their craft a little bit more. I'd love to see. You're right. I'd love to see them take on another world.
Definitely not another Yoshi, please. No. I love Woolly World and Crafty World, but that's too much. No, don't even do. I could see them doing Kirby actually.
Yeah,
we get a Kirby game like every 12 to 18 months, so that's possible actually.
Yeah, I'm thinking what other Nintendo franchises could be ripe for something like that. I think it's actually interesting that we don't see many games based on Yoshi. We've really only had 2 in the last 2 generations.
Do you think they can make a Mario game? A 2D Mario game?
It's a really interesting idea. Like
a cozy 2D Mario game.
Hold the fucking phone. Think back. First cover of Nintendo Power. Clay Mario 2.
Ooh.
Think about it. A clay Mario game.
Maybe that's how you get your 2D Mario on Switch.
Yeah.
People have been predicting. Maybe that's how you do it.
And that completely eschews the issues with there being okay, what are they gonna do for the art style? Or are they dropping new Super Mario Bros? No, it's not that team. It's a different team. It's a team that we know for doing funky little art styles. Paper, yarn, whatever the hell.
I kind of like this idea. I've never thought about them making a Mario game, but that's actually not a bad idea.
We're creating something special here, and we're not even the ones making the game.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I do think we'll see something from Good Feel. Maybe I think like if it's Mario, it'd be this year, or maybe even Donkey Kong. But if it's like another Yoshi game, that'd be next year, or Kirby, it'd be next year.
They could make a really interesting Animal Crossing spinoff.
Ooh.
They are perfect for a little felt Animal Crossing game of some kind. And I think Animal Crossing is big enough that actually an Animal Crossing spinoff, if it's held properly and does something unique.
Well, that's actually one of my predictions is an Animal Crossing
let's
game.
Get right into that.
So this has been, it's not like a rumor or anything, but a lot of people have been clamoring for either a release of Animal Forest on Switch Online. We never got that game here, the N64 original, of course, or a remake of Animal Crossing. Just a 1-to-1 remake would be sick. I think Nintendo would be insane to not release another Animal Crossing game. It's already insane how long it's been. It's already been over 3 years, and they have not capitalized.
Yeah.
This is the same company that released Amiibo Festival, by the way. Mm-hmm. So I think some sort of Animal Crossing spinoff has to happen. Maybe it is a remake, like I said. I think a party game would make a lot of sense. An actual party game.
Yeah.
That's not Amiibo Festival. And I can kind of go into another prediction I have later, but yeah, I think something Animal Crossing makes a lot of sense, and that's something that I think would come out this year also.
Sure. Yeah. What do you think of my idea of mixing that with Good Feel? I actually think that.
What would that be? What would that? It would be adorable, and it would do very well just from a visual perspective. But what would that be? Like a
Gameplay wise, yeah, I don't know. Because I mean, the only things that they've worked with Nintendo on.
Maybe it could be a remake of Animal Crossing 1 in like a knitted art style.
Ooh, I dig that. And frankly, that makes me a lot more excited than the idea of just uprising Animal Crossing 1. Like, if the effort goes into making it feel aesthetically different and
okay, but at that point,
ways and
at that point, they should just make a new Animal Crossing game. Maybe if they're putting that much effort into like the aesthetic change.
Yeah. But maybe maybe they could make like a mini sort of felt style Animal Crossing game.
That's a really cute idea. I like that.
I think we're on. Good feels makes me excited.
I think it's
number
one
of
like Nintendo's. Fans. Yeah, least talked about Nintendo partner. They don't own them, but I think there's a lot of potential there. Talking it through.
Yeah.
I don't even like Animal Crossing that much, but that's getting me excited.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think something Animal Crossing. Tucker, I have not let you do too many predictions yet, so let me hear some of yours.
Well, no, because honestly, I think bouncing off of these other ideas is really what gives me some juice. Because as I was saying, I think that, frankly, the things that they could announce that are still in this sort of reasonably exciting or reasonably possible sphere, like, spoiler, as you're going to get to, another Mario Party game, or thinking about another. Abram told me, go Mario Baseball. That's going to be I'm confident in that one.
You're like, ghost writing predictions.
I don't really care. I don't really care to predict them either, because it's not that interesting to me. And as I said, I think that the Switch's life cycle has been so chock full that I'm like, it's like kind of running out of ideas. So my prediction is that I want them to do something, even if it is something like Good Feel being handed a franchise they've never worked with before, a gameplay style they've never worked with before, or giving another team like Grezzo making their own game that is Tamagotchi Life, that is something new. Those are the kind of things I want to see. Switch exclusive ideas. I think I'm just not excited by another entry in this franchise that's kind of the same thing but a little bit different, or GameCube ports don't really excite me that much. So I don't really have a wish list. My focus on the big things, I think I do need to save for that next console is Pokemon remakes, next 3D Mario.
Oh, Pokemon remakes are not coming out on Switch 2. Those are Switch games.
Well, sure. Sorry, like Generation 10, or like the thing things that I'm like really thinking about. Even another 3D Kirby game, like those are things that really get me jazzed, and I'm excited to get to the point where I feel comfortable predicting them. But I don't feel comfortable predicting any of the stuff that's really going to get me.
Well, hyped. And that's what's interesting, because I said this to Abram when we were talking during the Devolver thing. I think you're going to be surprised how much is left in the Switch, because I don't think the Switch 2 is coming out until 2025.
Yeah.
And this is not a prediction for this showcase, although it could pop up this year. I do think Astral Chain 2 will be announced and come out on Switch. Sure. That's absolutely the kind of game people would think of when they think of a Switch 2 game, right?
Yeah.
But I think that'll just be a Switch game, because I do think there's enough steam left in the Switch. And right now, it's hard to see that vision because there's only one game announced, or two, I guess.
Yeah.
Really three, but with Metroid Prime 4. But I think like the February Direct next year, you're gonna get a lot more. Like I think we'll get another Kirby game, we'll get a Donkey Kong game, we'll get another Mario game. Maybe not 3D Mario, but I think we'll get this stuff.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just a little weird because, like you said, we've seen all these franchises already represented in some way. And for me,
one thing that they could do for a sequel.
Sure.
Give me another
Arms.
Toad. Well, okay,
oh yeah.
I have
You've given up.
Idea how happy that would be. I have given up on an ARM sequel. That's not fun.
Yeah, I've also given up, I think.
Come on. Treasure Tracker? That game's so stuffed with ideas and has so much potential to do more. What are you fucking smoking? Why'd you make like 3 stages of the little DLC pack? Why'd you put it on 3DS?
That was really weird. The DLC was really weird.
Bizarre.
Yeah. I think for me, like you said, ports don't excite me that much. I get as a Nintendo fan, it excites me just because like I like analyzing their marketing. So I like knowing like, okay, this is when F-Zero is coming out, and this is when Mario Party's coming out, and that's a game I'm predicting. Or like I said, an Indie Cube, maybe Animal Crossing game, or some sort of party game from an Indie Cube. Because I don't really need to elaborate on Mario Party. That's obviously happening sometime soon, because it's been 2 years since Mario Party Superstars, and I think the gap between Super Mario Party and that game was 3 years. It was a 3-year gap. So I think we're about due, especially if they do a very by the numbers addition to Superstars, like Superstars 2. Here's more GameCube boards. Here's more mini games, that kind of thing. But even games like I don't care about F-Zero. I'm just gonna be honest, but it's still interesting
What was the last thing?
I don't care about F-Zero, for example, but I'm excited. I like the idea of like trying to predict when it's gonna fit in and why Nintendo would maybe bring that back. So yeah, Mario Party I think is feasible. Abrams' idea of Mario Baseball I don't think would happen this year. That could be a game next year. They just plop out.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other things for this year. We said Pokemon.
What's the DLC?
Well, I think there'll be a spinoff as well.
Oh, the spinoff. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is outside of Mario Party being pretty safe, but okay, maybe they want to wait 3 years because they did that in the first time. We don't have any idea for a Mario game this year, really. And the Mario movie came out this year, and maybe that's what they're thinking. Is like, okay, that's our big release, but nothing to capitalize on that is fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the conversation about how Mario 3D World is the game that ties in with Mario movie. Odyssey and Mario Strikers are the games that market that movie, and they showed ads for Mario Maker before the movie.
I see. Yeah.
So like they don't necessarily need one, but I agree it is weird.
The 30 fucking Mario games they already have on the system.
And to your point, people always predicting 2D Mario. Maybe it will just be Mario Party. There has to be a Mario game this year. I don't think Nintendo's ever gone a full 12 months without releasing a Mario game. I can't imagine that's the case. Including spin-offs, yeah. And I mean, it's already been 12 months actually since March. No, we had Mario plus Rabbids, to be fair, in October.
Yeah.
But it is as of now been 12 months since the last Mario game from Nintendo with Strikers. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What else is there? Losing at Mario Party, Pokemon spinoff, Fire Emblem remake, announced, probably not released. Some sort of GameCube port, F-Zero, or one of those things. Tomodachi Life, of course. Yeah, Pikmin 5. I think, honestly, just talking it through, I think it's gonna be the more interesting thing will be next year at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Because I don't, like I said, I don't think. And to be fair, we'll get a lot of those announcements this year. That's how they do it. We'll know the first half of next year in September. Probably.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
So that's very exciting.
Yeah. So the final thing that I want to sort of bring into conversation with this is this idea of Nintendo's announcement cycle. Because I did some pretty heavy research into this over the course of the last week. Only with the Switch's life cycle, their first party games, when they announced them and how long it took for them to release. So, but I don't know if I sent you.
I was looking at the document. Yeah.
Yeah. But so what's interesting is most Nintendo Switch first party games have been announced in that 5 to 7 month window from reveal to release, which puts them either in being announced in the direct that starts the year, whether that's February or March, and then being released in late spring or the summer, or being announced in the summer direct and being released in the fall or late summer or fall / winter, or being announced in the fall direct and then released in the early.
They have 3 marketing beats a year.
They do. Yes.
On average.
Yeah. And so the worrying part for me, I think, is that without too much this summer, even if it is just like, okay, a second party game, maybe a port, whatever, that fills out to the end of August, the amount of pressure that puts on that final direct to announce and release games within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to fill out the year, I think is kind of crazy, but it has been done. Announcing and releasing a game within that same season, it happens pretty frequently. So it is, I think, a little bit worrisome. I would prefer if some of those were announced this summer and then had 3 months of marketing instead of either 1 or 0 months of marketing.
Right, like the ideas that I listed, like Tomodachi Life and Mario Party, I think those are fine. Which is maybe why, if we're doing like the idea of a September direct, it feels a little bit more limited trying to predict it. I don't think a 2D Mario game gets announced with 1 month of marketing. No, it doesn't matter. That game would sell well. It doesn't really matter. But I don't think Nintendo would do that. So it would be like those like ports and smaller tier franchises for sure. Yeah. Another game I just thought of one that I could easily see happening this year, and maybe it could be the reason that everybody want to Switch is being plopped out in the summer for no reason.
Okay.
Ring Fit Adventure 2. October.
Oh, interesting. Oh.
That is one of the best-selling Switch games. It's been 4 years since Ring Fit 1. I think that makes sense. Once again, just another like smaller game that we don't really care about, but still like they're releasing stuff. They're Nintendo Treehouse is busy, right? Is the idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's interesting about that is that is that same EPD4 group, right? And so I guess actually
they released one game a year, but also Everybody Went to Switch was done apparently last year.
That's what I was just about to say. Is that game has been done, so it's not like that was stopping them from working on a game.
And I imagine Rank Fit 2 would probably be pretty easy to get up and running.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't
obviously
know, but...
trivial. We're not developers, but
yeah,
it's fucking Rank Fit Adventure. I imagine you just add more workouts and stuff and like a new map.
Yeah. The last thing that I think would be really interesting to see this year, if they are going to fill it out with smaller stuff, is more digital titles. The Switch doesn't have much, if any, of its own digital exclusive Nintendo franchises. We got one Box Boy game, which is bizarre when you think about it. We got a fucking Box Boy game on Switch. That's, huh?
How just kind of does their own thing. Because we also got Part-Time UFO. How just kind of does their own thing.
Yeah, right. That is how. But I'd really love to see a first-party Nintendo game, a Nintendo franchise.
It ain't gonna be Dylan.
No, it won't be Dylan. But I hope
Pushmo.
It's something new. I hope it's something new. I hope it's not Pushmo. Not only because I played Pushmo and I'm like, but I would love to see something small, something real small.
Yeah, sure. I do wonder if they would then prop that up. Something I was gonna say, I wonder if they would then prop that up as like a $30 retail release, like Everybody Went to Switch. But something I just remember too, and this is more towards like the marketing angle instead of like new game announcements. I was talking about this back in April. I would still not be surprised if Future Redeemed got a physical release, and that's with the Noah and Mio amiibo, and that's like that could be their September game, to be completely honest, which would suck.
Yeah,
but I could Nintendo. I'll accept it
now
because I want that physically.
I just had a fucking revelation. Okay. What was Nintendo's most interesting digital exclusive game that they published at the start of the Switch's life cycle?
Snipper Clips.
Where the fuck is Snipper Clips? I think that is
they're making some other. They made some other indie games, unfortunately.
I'm looking at it. They made an Apple Arcade game in 2019. That was the last thing they put out. Snipper Clips and Snipper Clips Plus were the last quote-unquote major things that they did in 2017. I think another Snipper Clips, because that is a Switch exclusive digital, not digital only because they released Snipper Clips Plus physically, but that mean, that give that...
Snipper Clips is fantastic.
That's a great game. It's a great game. And it's exactly the kind of thing that we're talking about. Oh, okay, well, Box Boy and Dylan and Pushmo were kind of the 3DS's thing.
Snipper Clips is that vibe.
Is a Switch thing. Yeah. A Snipper Clips sequel. Or another game from that team that Nintendo publishes. That doesn't need any more than 30 days of marketing.
Yeah. And it could even still be like I think it could have a physical similar Shadow Drop situation
$40.
to Metroid Prime.
Yeah.
Shadow Drop and then have a physical later. Yeah.
I've never heard anyone mention this. But that is a team that I think did a phenomenal job with the first time we were exposed to them. And I would love to see them come back in the same capacity working with Nintendo, because Snipper Clips was published by them. And for me, Snipper Clips is an integral part of that first part of the Switch's life cycle. I think it's absolutely iconic, and it uses the Switch's hardware so well. And with so many years of development, something a little more ambitious, something a little more unique. I mean, come on. Goddamn.
Yeah, you make a good point. I would love to see smaller stuff like that too. Another big one for me. Unfortunately, we talked about how the studio had a bunch of layoffs recently. Cadence of Hyrule was an
that's a great point.
awesome game, and I would love to see, now that we're 4 years removed from that release, maybe Nintendo has pushed for more partnerships like that. I guess, and to be fair, I think we maybe already saw a little bit of that with Advance Wars, with WayForward developing that game.
Yeah.
Doing a little bit of research on SFB Games, the developers of Snipper Clips, I was curious just to see maybe like the Wikipedia page hadn't updated and like it doesn't have their TBA game. Adam VN and Tom VN, their brothers that run the studio.
Yeah.
Their Twitter bios do not say anything about a new game being in development. They are whatever they're working on is secret. So I think that is a good sign.
Yeah, it is.
So
definitely is.
You might be onto something. I would fucking love that. Snipper Clips is really good. One of my favorite games from the first year,
Yeah, definitely. Any other comments from the community, or we don't?
No, I think that's we ran out of steam on those. I am optimistic. I think I'm a lot more optimistic than you. And I think I'm a lot more optimistic than a lot of people. Yeah. Because as much as I am a Nintendo fan, and as much as I would love to see more hardware so I can buy it and the games run better, and it'd be cool to get a Switch 2, I really genuinely do not think the Switch 2 is going to come out until March of 2025 probably. But I don't think it's going to be a dry spell like a lot of people think. I think it's probably going to be a pretty consistent lineup. I think we'll get a 2D Mario. I think we'll get Astral Chain 2. I think we'll get Tomodachi Life, some sort of Animal Crossing project, Donkey Kong. I think it's going to be pretty good because, and I guess the main reason for that is because of how packed the first half of this year was. Because that doesn't make any sense to release all those games like that. It just doesn't. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I'm glad we're getting this out now before anything crazy happened. Any more games? Obviously, everybody wants to Switch is pretty big in terms of predicting this stuff. But I think within the month we will have a very clear idea of what's happening this year for Switch. Because if there's not a direct, then we're gonna be waiting until September. Yeah. And that's gonna be rough as hosts of a Nintendo podcast.
Yeah, but I think
we have Pikmin. It's fine.
But Pikmin and everybody's want to Switch will be very fun to cover. They will be very fun. But I think that also I'm kind of excited for there not to be like big news things to cover, because there's so many ideas that we have for digging back into Nintendo's history and talking about things that aren't really talked about as often and as in depth as we will give them the credit for. So regardless, I'm excited. How about this? I might not be like super optimistic for the future of for the rest of the year for the Switch, but I'm very optimistic for the rest of the year for our podcast.
Absolutely. It's a good place to end it. I was going to say something, though. Oh, I'm very excited for I think, when is Final Fantasy 16 release? 23rd?
Yeah, something like that.
I am so excited, Tucker, from June 23rd to July 21st. There is nothing I care about. So I will finally have a moment where I can go back and play like Thousand Year Door or something and dive deep into like an old... I have not cleared like the backlog this year. Yeah. So I'm going to have a moment to do that finally. I'm very excited. Do you have any closing thoughts, Tucker, before we end off this episode of the Nintendo Select podcast? We're getting there. We're almost at episode 10.
Is that when it dies? What do you mean we're getting there?
We're getting there.
We're going at a totally normal pace.
The Nintendo Select promise? We're getting there.
That's a promise?
That's a promise.
All right. Well, I think that's a good note to leave it on.
All right.
Oh, God.
Thank you all so much for watching. Of course, subscribe here on YouTube. Subscribe to Tucker on Backlog Banter. Backlot Banter is movie channel. Twitter is at these handles. Follow me, all that fun stuff. I'll probably do a separate predictions video going even, maybe not in more depth, certainly not, but another like shorter predictions video on the channel this week. And of course, Apple Podcast, Spotify, all that fun stuff. Write in, join the Discord. And until next time, folks. Peace.
You keep me on my fucking toes. You keep me on my...